Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for another player reaction and player ratings and live stream and live reaction. I can't even talk anymore. See, what Chelsea's doing to me, I don't even understand what's happening. Like, going into every game at this point, I don't expect nothing. And almost every game, they shock me again with how bad we are. I'm not sure if I've ever, I know we only lost 2-1. But I'm not sure if I've ever seen us destroyed like this at Stamford Bridge. I'm genuinely not sure. Maybe like Bayern in 2020. But even City haven't done this to us. I don't. Number one, I'm baffled by how good Brighton are, if I'm honest. But even more so, I'm baffled by quite how bad we are. There is just nothing that works in this team. Nothing. I don't really understand what Frank was trying to do. I don't really understand what the players are trying to do. But we've had 4 managers in a season. It's just so, none of these players know how to play with each other. Not one of them. You see Brighton, they know every time where their teammate is going to be. Every time they know it. We just do random flicks to the opponent because we have no idea where our teammates are ever going to be. There is no cohesion. There is no connection. There is no chemistry. There's just, we genuinely look like an all-star team. That's what we look like. They've never played before, never heard of each other, never seen us play together. It's just, wow. Brighton, honestly, they could have beat us 7-1 today, comfortably. The amount of chances they created and missed is mind-boggling. But then, of course, as it goes for us, they win with an absolute screamer. I mean, we'll get into the discussion of that in a minute, but in my opinion, not a single goalkeeper in the world saves. Why this constantly happens against us, I don't know. What can I say? I mean, I do agree that teams shoot more against us because Kepa is kind of known to concede long shots. But I still don't think any goalkeeper in the world saves that. And I still don't think Enciso, or however you pronounce his name, will ever score a goal this good again in his entire career. I don't think he would. I don't think he will. But yeah, still no 40 points. But on a small positive, we scored a goal today. So that's great. But yeah, let me get to my panel. And we're joined by a new guest today, Tom Coley. Appreciate you coming on. Unfortunately, not good times at the moment, but I'm not sure if there will be a good time this season anymore. So you might as well. But mate, what can you even say anymore? 3 games in a Lampard, 3 losses, one kind of worse than the other, if I'm honest. What even is, should we just forfeit all the rest of the games before even turning up and hope we don't get relegated? Because I feel like for our mental health, that might be better than actually going to all these games. Because, wow, I don't even know what to say anymore. But what about you, Tom?
I mean, that was pretty damning, wasn't it? Brighton for 65 minutes, absolutely hammered Chelsea, like you said. I can't remember a team destroying Chelsea like that at Stamford Bridge for a long, long time. I mean, Arsenal earlier in the season were extremely good value for a 1-0 win in a pretty similar game, but they didn't have as many chances as Brighton did.
I don't even remember that game anymore.
I mean, you're genuinely sort of going back to Man City winning, was it 3-1 in the end, just before Lampard got sacked the first time round. That was the last sort of level of dominance where Chelsea just felt completely outplayed. You completely summed it up right. Chelsea looked like they didn't know what they were doing on the pitch, and everything Brighton did was completely autonomous. They knew exactly where each other were going to be. They knew when to press, how to press, and Chelsea just got sucked into lumping the ball long to, Raheem Sterling playing up front, Christian Pulisic playing up front. Were they even on the pitch? It was like midweek again. You don't recognise them. You see their names on the team sheet, but they didn't do anything in the game at all. They offered nothing, no passes, no dribbles. And it was completely clueless for Chelsea. And it's really, really embarrassing. And it's probably the lowest. It's the lowest I've ever seen Chelsea get to, performance-wise. There's always been something to cling on to, or you could say that it was just the structure. The players were good enough. Right now, there's pretty much nothing to basically say is going right at the moment. That's really, really tough. And it's really, really worrying as well.
Yeah, it is so worrying. And I honestly, at the moment, I don't really see a light at the end of the tunnel, which is the difficult part. I still think we would have been much better off trying to appoint a permanent manager right now, because you know how long it's going to take any new manager to get any sort of chemistry and any sort of patterns into this team? we're used to changing managers, and we're used to managers, bringing their ideas in. We also know slightly more pragmatic managers tend to make it work quicker than the ones that have, more expansive styles, shall we say. But that's when the team know each other. Now we're constantly just adding new players. Like, how many was it in January? Like 6? We're probably going to add another 3 or 4 or 5 in the summer. Even if we're going to sell half the squad, we're still going to add loads and loads of players. So then you're going to have pre-season where players basically, it's like going back to kindergarten where you're like, playing around to introduce each other. Like, pre-season can't even be long enough to make this work. Like, it's impossible to be long enough for this. Like, honestly, we should just lock them in a one little room until they just know and love each other or hate each other, because might as well at this point. My God, Aaron, it says road to 40 points. Where's that roadblock at? Because we ain't getting anywhere near 40 points right now. Because how can we win a game? We're going to play Brentford. We're going to play Arsenal. We're going to play God knows what other good teams. And Bournemouth, who firstly just beat Spurs away 3-2 in the last second, but also they're our bogey team as it is anyway. Honestly, I don't even think we'll win another game, mate.
The road to 40 points, I like to think of it as a highway, and that highway is the highway to hell, because it's not fucking happening. But yeah, we were so shit. I've never seen us get spanked like that by a team of Brighton stature at home as well. The stats were disgusting. The performance was disgusting. We didn't even score a decent goal. We got very fucking lucky with the deflection. It's just, it's
the weird
just
thing, right? Because we had a couple of chances where we could have scored reasonably comfortable goals, but no, the one goal we do score takes a ridiculous deflection.
But that just tells you everything there is to know. 3 games under Lampard, 1 goal. That's the 1 goal that we've scored. 3 defeats. Each one's looked just as bad as the other. I think today might have been the worst of them all, which is concerning because we just keep regressing and there's no positivity. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's horrific, and I don't understand what these top class managers like Luis Enrique and Julian Nagelsmann are looking at this thinking, yeah, I want to go there, because we are a sack of shit and we are going downhill so fast. I don't know who's going to come in and save this, but yeah, it's just bring me to the end of the season. There's nothing else to play for. We're getting spanked on Tuesday as well. Let's not even get that twisted, because if Brighton of all teams can play like this at Stamford Bridge, Real Madrid are going to absolutely tear us apart. So yeah, there's literally nothing.
You know what I'd love to see? Brighton playing Real Madrid. Because if Madrid play
They'd give them a better game
on Wednesday and Brighton like they do today, Brighton win. Like, Brighton were ridiculous. Like, maybe I haven't paid enough attention to them. I've watched a few of their games, but obviously never with like the same kind of focus and attention as I do when I watch Chelsea games. My God, they
were without their best centre back too, by the way.
Without their best centre back, obviously being Levi Colwill, they also suffered 2 or 3 injuries today. They had to take Evan Ferguson off, bring Daniel Welbeck on.
Both of the players that came on for the injuries ended up scoring goals.
True, and Veltman got injured early on, and then Enciso. Well, turns out he's Juninho rebirthed, or whatever the bloody word I'm looking for is.
Reincarnated.
That's the word, thank you. Clutch, I'll get to you. I don't even know what questions to ask anymore. Like, I'm just so... I'm so deflated. I'm so disappointed. Like, Mudryk wasn't even good, and he still looked like the only player that we had that is reasonably capable of playing any football. Like, all the others looked like they've never even stepped foot on a football pitch before. Well, I guess Kepa made a couple of good saves, but the actual outfield players. I mean, Chalobah is playing right back. Aspie's on the bench. Like, I know Aspie's bad, but do we really have to play Chalobah against Mitoma? Really? Is that the thing? What?
I don't know. Aspie would have been much better, bud.
No, it might not have been, but at least
Reece wasn't much better against Mitoma.
No, Reece was no better.
So Mitoma's just an insane player. That's all we need to say. He's just, I don't know. I guess my opinion is this is the first game where I've seen the players, and in my head now, 2 players today showed up like they cared, in my opinion. Other than that, and Mudryk isn't one of them, by the way. Okay. Conor Gallagher tried his heart out for sprinting the entire game. May not have been the greatest thing, but a lot of the reasons why we actually had chances because Conor Gallagher was pressing from the front, even though I didn't like it. And then Kepa. Kepa had a decent game for what it is. I know everybody in the chat's like, oh, it's Kepa's fault. Neither goal was Kepa's fault. It was just bad defense. I'm sorry. There's no goalie in the world that's saving the shot from Encenzo. It's just not happening. That is as top bins as it gets. As top bin. And the problem is Kepa had a couple really nice saves, but at the end of the day, the rest of them, they just didn't care. They didn't care. I see Mudryk care every once in a while. Like, he had a decent outing. I'm not going to go, like, I don't think he was a bright spot by any means, but other than that, like, I could just tell nobody cared out there. No one. And it really cemented it when Reece James lost the ball, which caused the second goal. That's what really told me, like, yep, we don't care anymore. We're just done.
In the space of what, 3-4 days, Reece James, like, what is he doing? Like, what is wrong with him? What has happened to him? Right?
He's so clearly like not fully fit at the moment. Yeah. It's quite horrible to watch. Like, if Chelsea weren't in the Champions League and we didn't have this Madrid game coming up, then
he would have already had surgery.
I think it's more than fitness. I think mentally he's checked out too. He doesn't look like he cares. He does. He after he lost the ball, he didn't even sprint. He just said, "Okay," and then they had a wide open midfield just to do whatever they wanted.
He's just not got it at the moment. He's not got the burst. He can't get down the wing. He can't do anything. He can't recover. And then you have to watch him, like Hakim Ziyech is the sub that Chelsea turn to, and it's just like you're looking at the players that aren't making the team for Chelsea, like Chukwuemeka and Madueke, and then you've got players like Ziyech and Pulisic who are playing, and they're like, well, but neither of those two should be at the club after like, I don't know, whenever the season ends. The last game of the season is that's it. Get those players shouldn't be playing for Chelsea next season. They shouldn't be going on pre-season. They shouldn't be putting a Chelsea shirt back on again, because they've already proven that they're not good enough and that they're not going to get better, and they don't really care. I mean,
I don't know about that. I just
crossed the ball in and he just flings his arms out. And I'm like, well, but we saw this against Dynamo Zagreb back in September. We saw the Ziyech cameo when he came off the bench, and it was horrible. And
we saw him try to get himself fucking sent off against Spurs last time he played.
You know, so, and it's like, why are these players again under a new manager being given another chance? Just leave it. And this is what people wanted, I think, under Lampard, was the whole, he's going to come in and he's just going to cut the bullshit and he's going to get rid of those players. He's not going to bother. And yet the same sort of things are happening again. It's just really, really hard to sort of understand the whole thinking, and you can see how muddled it is. And it's horrid, really. It's absolutely horrid.
Right, absolutely.
I think the unfortunate truth
I don't want to shit on Sterling, but this did make me chuckle. But because you're not even wrong. Like, what? I mean, I felt bad for Sterling today because that was an impossible task. I think he had 15 touches before he was subbed off. I think Zakaria also had about that number of touches, and he played as the deepest midfielder, or similar lines to Enzo. Enzo was quite a bit higher on average, but I felt like Zakaria was just, after Chalobah got spun and then Fofana pushed out to help Chalobah, then Zakaria was basically playing next centre-back because the right wings never helped anyone to do anything. But also, Brighton's left side was just so ridiculous that, honestly, I'm lost for words. I'm still not 1,000,000% sure whether we were playing a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, if I'm being perfectly honest. Even looking at the real-time positions of the players during the game, it was very unclear what exactly the formation was. But to be honest, that's how the game went. Like, we didn't have a real formation. We tried to press high with, like, well, Sterling and Gallagher mainly, Mudryk and Pulisic being wide, but Enzo and Zakaria pushed so high. But then the back line didn't push up with them. So then we basically had a gap of, 40, 50 yards between Enzo and Zakaria pushing high to press and the centre-backs. And then, oh my God, we are shocked that they play through our midfield like it wasn't there. You know why they did? Because it wasn't there. And I'm not going to sit here and say Enzo is shit, Zakaria is shit, even Gallagher is shit. What is that? Like, go watch fourth-tier football. Much, 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 much worse players than these three that I've just mentioned here can manage to make a midfield not look this bad. I guarantee if Brighton play against Wrexham, they will not destroy them like they destroyed us today. I guarantee it. But I don't even know if this is Lampard's fault. I don't know. Because what is Lampard telling them? Because there's clearly no time for them to be on the training pitch. You said in a press conference yesterday, they basically don't even train. They just prepare for games vocally. And he's just telling them, try harder, be aggressive. Well, that's number one, not working. Number two, that doesn't fix anything. Like,
it's like the players also, like, there is no accountability within this squad to change anything on the pitch anyway. And like, it's a bit of a strange example because it's Jorginho, but he was at least somebody who would sort of try to dictate the players around him. But they all just
instructions on the pitch. Now
they all just sort of cower away from taking any responsibility or accountability for what's going on. I mean, there was a period towards the end of the game, I think Maddsion was running back towards his own goal, and you're waiting for at least one midfielder, if not another midfielder, to drop deep and offer for the ball so Chelsea can play through the pitch and up the pitch properly rather than just lumping it long. And no midfielder came to offer. I mean, Kovacic, who's been the captain in recent weeks, was just sort of waiting behind Brighton players. And it's, as I say, it's just, the word's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to watch these players take no responsibility on the pitch whatsoever for what's going on and what's going wrong. And
that's exactly it. I mean, the amount of times Enzo was awful today, right? But the amount of times I saw him have the ball, look forward, and no one make themselves available. Okay, our wingers were very wide today. That's all right. But Gallagher didn't move in positions to receive the ball. And whether it was Sterling or later on Felix, like, we all have our issues with Kai. But at least Kai understands that you need to drop to receive a ball. Like, in midweek, Felix and Sterling didn't understand it. Today, Sterling didn't understand it, and then Felix didn't understand it. They just don't, like, how can where's this midfield supposed to pass it to when the wingers are completely wide, and then we have a non-striker just waiting between centre backs? What are you ever going to do? Like, we couldn't get the ball forward. Like, the first 15 minutes of the game, we had like 22% possession at home to Brighton. Like, how far have we fallen? Where is the door? Is the floor gone? Like, it was just pulled out from underneath us. And turns out we're not on planet Earth anymore. We're in the middle of fucking space and just falling into the abyss, man. Aaron, when you saw the team, and I was working a night shift last night, so I only woke up half an hour before the game, and then I saw the team and I was like, sorry, what? Mudryk isn't even on the bench. Ziyech is, though. Chalobah is starting right back. What? Sterling is starting up front. We found out Kai apparently picked up some small issue against Real Madrid, which still apparently he's going to be totally fine for Tuesday. But on Saturday, he's, of course, not even able to be in the squad. So I'm already baffled by that. But what were your thoughts of the team when you saw it, Aaron? And then, I guess in hindsight, what did you think were the biggest issues before we get into talking about individuals?
I thought the team was shit. I'm not going to lie. I didn't understand it. You're supposedly resting players for Madrid, but they played so shit in Madrid that surely you should play them so they can try and get a bit more into form before they then go into the biggest game of the season. But I don't know. I maybe I'm just thinking about it differently, but the team was horrific, and you saw it on the pitch. It was, I didn't understand the front three. I don't understand why you're not playing somebody who's a more out-and-out striker. You've got Aubameyang on the bench. Even if you don't like him or whatever, he wouldn't have done any worse than what Sterling did today. So there is no harm in putting him on. He doesn't even come on in the game to try and change it up a bit, and he's not even registered for the Champions League squad. So it makes no sense to me. You've got Ziyech on the bench when he's going to be leaving in the summer. He should have left in January, so he shouldn't even be here right now. But he's making the bench ahead of Mudryk, who I feel very sorry for because he's got a fuck all opportunity in this team, and it is sad to see. Chalobah at right back, we're never too sure about that, and he got put on toast by Matoma. But yeah, that midfield stank as well. Enzo, you can understand it, but Zakaria and Gallagher, just Mason Mount is on the bench, and he seems to be fit, even though he is dealing with whatever injury issue. But if he's fit enough to be on the bench and come on and have these little cameo roles, then surely he's fit enough to at least start from the jump. And if you want to take him off a half time or something, you can. But like he's sitting on the bench, and Chukwuemeka doesn't make the squad, and yeah,
I still don't know if he's injured or not. FotMob keeps saying he's injured, but all the people that know about the ins and outs of the club and like youth football and stuff, they all say he's not. What is that? Like, what is the point in Lampard being here if after what we saw against Madrid, you play Ziyech and even Pulisic? I like Pulisic, and I wouldn't even mind if he did stay, but we all know he will leave. So why is he playing?
He will play, bro. I'm
there's other
sorry.
players-
Whether you guys like it or not, Pulisic will play. When you're asking for $40 million for a player who never
I
plays,
get that, bro.
insane.
But
He will play. Just everybody needs to
after
relax.
Wednesday,
But the point is, like,
and it's
it
like,
shouldn't-
oh,
it
we aren't
shouldn't get to
aggressive
the
enough,
point
we
when
don't
you're
care
asking
enough,
for
we don't
money.
believe enough. Then you don't play players that won't be here next season.
And
Like,
you
you're
don't
never
just
going to
play
get out of a
players.
rut if you're trying to play players to get their value up. That's never going to get you out of the kind of form we're in. I understand the logic, Clutch. Like, trust me, I understand why he might do it. But it's never going to work. And we've literally watched it not work since the World Cup. Like, arguably before that, but obviously before that was a different scenario and different time. We've literally watched nothing work since Christmas. Nothing. It's just, I mean, Clutch, what was your thoughts when you saw the team? Like, and then also in hindsight, what was the biggest issue for you? Or is there no one biggest issue? It's just a whole collective calamity.
Just a collective calamity. I mean, when at the start, I'm like, okay, well, you're going to have two players who are going to provide the width. Sterling, I don't know about being a false nine, but like at the end of the day, if you don't have Havertz, and again, I know you talk about Aubameyang. Aubameyang's the kind of player like you guys talk about. Well, he's going to leave. Well, yeah, he's going to leave.
You're right. So
the only difference is the difference between like Aubameyang, Ziyech. You're not going to ask a whole lot of money for them. You're not going to be like, oh, well, I want 20 million for Ziyech because nobody's going to give you 20 million. They're going to give you maybe 10. Same thing with Aubameyang. You're going to ask a lot for Pulisic because he's young. He's the face of the American team. So you're going to ask for a lot of money for him to sell him. So you have to get his value up. You can't just sit him on the bench and be like, well, here's 40 million. Nobody's going to buy him for that. It's just not going to fucking happen. I'm sorry. Like, people are going to be like, okay, well, you haven't played him. Well, we'll take 20 million for him. And then we're like, oh, well, we're not going to lose 40 million for him. So it's just not going to happen.
With the way we're playing, we're lucky to get £1 for any of these players.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, the fact that Mount's what are we hearing for him? 60 million? Is that what we're hearing for him? An English player?
70.
And that's with 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah. So
there's no chance Liverpool pay us that, by the way. No chance. We might talk ourselves into thinking we'll get that. No way.
Maybe. And again, I guess it's like I think Chelsea are just throwing things at the wall at this point to see what works. I don't think it's very much else. I mean, all the players don't care. Maybe two. So I think it's just a collective. People just don't care, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm still not fully sure if it's not caring. I just think not caring about right now because they know nothing's like. Again, all you need to watch is Brighton players knowing where their teammates are going to be and our players not knowing where our teammates are going to be. There's a reason why the second Potter switched to a 3-4-3 again. It worked a bit better. It wasn't great, but it worked a bit better. Why? Because there's still some patterns, still some knowledge of where players are going to go in that system because we played it for long enough under the same manager that they have a little understanding of what's happening, especially when it's obviously the players that were still played at the time. Well, obviously we've signed so many new ones then that half of that doesn't even count for those anymore. But there's literally a reason for that. You see them, they just don't know how to play with each other. They don't know what to do. They don't know. I don't think it's a case of not understanding their instructions. John Stone just scored a worldie. Weak foot volley. See, everyone's just scoring worldies, and we can't even finish. Like someone asked, did we even have a chance other than the Gallagher shot? I mean, Kovacic was literally in front of goal by himself. He just can't control the ball and instead lays it straight into the hands of the goalkeeper. Like, it's just an absolute embarrassment what our footballers do. Like, I literally tweeted, and I don't want to be morbid like that usually, but my dead nan is more likely to score a goal than Mateo Kovacic. It's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. Tom, just quickly, I know you've said a fair few things on like the team and stuff anyway, but anything more that you'd like to add in terms of the lineup itself before we get into the individual ratings?
No, I mean, I can just about understand some parts of the lineup. Like, you don't play Thiago Silva, you don't play Kante, you rest Reece James from the start. If Havertz, who's probably going to play on Tuesday, isn't fully fit, you don't play him too. I also understand as well, like, not playing Aubameyang because, like, if you just, like, Lampard made a comment the other day very clearly about players not training particularly well. And if that was in response to a question about Aubameyang. So if that's where that's going, then fair enough if they're not training well enough. I didn't particularly like it. I don't really understand the Mount thing, like you said. Like, if he's fit, he plays, right? I mean, when was the last time Zakaria played? And then you just play him for the sake of it. I don't get that either. Like there are players here that warrant more chances than they're getting at the moment. Chalobah at right back. I mean, have we forgotten that he's a centre back? I mean, we've turned him into a right back because he's a right-footed centre-back that's a little bit younger than Azpilicueta. It doesn't really make any sense. I don't think it would have made a massive difference today against Matoma.
If you're going to play any of the centre-backs,
the system was so messed up
anyway.
anyway.
Not Chalobah.
Yeah, like the system was so messed up anyway that even, like as you say, like even if it was James up against Matoma, he would have had so much time. The runs in behind, the balls coming from deep would have had no pressure on them. Anybody would have struggled in that position. The fact that it's Chalobah just makes things worse. The fact that Fofana has sort of forgotten how to defend and the structure in front of him just isn't there hasn't helped. Like none of it. There's not much good at the moment. There's nothing cohesive about this Chelsea team on or off the pitch at all at the moment. I don't necessarily buy the caring thing across the pitch because a lot of players are still new. Like, you know, would you say Ben Chilwell doesn't care? No, you probably wouldn't. Would you say Sterling doesn't care? I wouldn't say it's not that he cares. It's that the people that you do have.
I question whether Sterling cares about anything sometimes when I see the way he acts.
I mean,
like,
he's laid back, isn't he? It's like when the players are struggling so much, it's like this is when the leaders really, really count. And Chelsea just don't have those players in the squad at all. I mean, Kepa's the captain. Like, come on, that tells you all you need to know about this team. The player like Mudryk doesn't speak much English. Enzo Fernandez doesn't speak much English. Pulisic is not a leader. Neither is Conor Gallagher. Neither is Trevor Chalobah. Wesley Fofana. Like none of them out there. Chilwell's probably the best leader in the team, and that tells you something. Chelsea lack massively in that department. So when things are going downhill, there's nobody to stop.
I do think Kepa is actually a leader, but you know it doesn't fucking help. Number one, he's the goalkeeper. Everyone kind of doubting him and all sorts of things. Like it's a shit show. But let's get to these player range. Let's get Kepa out of the way. I'm not sure if I don't know about Aaron, Clutch, and Tom, but to me, I'm honestly so bored of this fan base. I'm like. Every player on the pitch makes mistake after mistake after mistake, and then we concede a goal, and the fan base is like Kepa's fault. Like it's just so weird to me. It's so weird to me. Like without Kepa, we literally would have conceded 5 goals today. Like 2 of the saves he made today were absolutely outrageous. Especially that one where he's already on the way into the other corner and somehow turns around and saves. Mental. And people say, "Oh, it was straight at him." People just have no idea about goalkeeping. Like it's like these people. Everyone in England plays football. Every Chelsea fan, most likely, will have played some sort of football. But I feel like, has any of you ever been in goal against anyone that's better at football than your average park clown? Like honestly, people think goalkeeping is the easiest thing in the world. They just have no idea. The only thing I'll let critics of Kepa have is that. Players know that he's susceptible to long shots, and that's why they try more often. But
look, I'm a goalkeeper. I'm a goalkeeper, and I'm heavily critical of Kepa quite often. I think he lets in goals that the standard keeper wouldn't, simply because of size. I didn't have a problem with the goal that was conceded today, whereas there are other goals this season which don't go down as massive mistakes. Like you're looking at the Man United one where people couldn't decide if it was a Kepa mistake or not. Like those sorts of things, I feel like Kepa should just do better with in general, more consistently. Today, like there's so many parts to that goal that come before Kepa. Like the way that Chelsea lost the ball. I mean, Joao Felix, we've not mentioned him for good reason. I mean, Reece James, as you say, like gives up the ball and then doesn't get the ball back. The fact that the 2 centre-backs are so exposed to the shot from midfield. Like, there are so many mistakes coming to it. And then we know that Kepa isn't a world-class goalkeeper. Like...
We know that. Like, this is not new. People act like, you know...
we know that Chelsea need a better goalkeeper. This is not new. Like, the question is whether Chelsea should be playing Edouard Mendy or not. And I don't know.
He's apparently injured anyway.
Is he fully fit or not? Like, Lampard can't seem to make his mind up at the moment. It's strange, basically.
Yeah, it is strange. I mean, John, what rating would you give Kepa on the day? I'm not sure if you agree, but to me, he made 2 very good saves, a couple of, just saves. And then obviously 2 goals that, in my opinion, he can't do nothing about. So I don't think he should get a low rating. But what I would be critical of him today, I thought his distribution was awful. And I thought his distribution has been awful in every game under Frank. Now, part of the issue is because ever since Frank has turned up, we try to punt every ball, even though we never play a striker. Well, except against the Wolves. Like, we don't have a striker on the pitch. We just play every ball long against 6'5" centre-backs. And we think Sterling, Mudryk, Pulisic, Gallagher are going to win the headers. Like, this is where the problem starts, just from the fact that we do that, you already know that we don't understand anything about what's happening. But what rating would you give Kepa, Tom, out of 10?
Like, he's conceded 2 goals and Chelsea have lost the game, so probably 6, because it's hard to go too much higher than that. But he did make some good saves in the first half. The fact that Chelsea have lost the game and he's conceded twice, one of them's from outside the box, probably just 6.
But Aaron, what would you give Kepa? And what did you think of the goals, plural, I guess, but mainly the second one, obviously?
Sorry, I'm just watching Haaland just put the ball down on the penalty spot, City about to make it 2-0. But Kepa is difficult. The first goal, I blame the defenders more than Kepa, but I feel like the ball, once it leaves Welbeck's head, it does come down a bit slow, but I don't really think he could have done all that much more. Haaland scored 2-0. The second one, yeah, no keeper saving it, but I do feel like because they know Kepa's he's pony when it comes to long shots, I feel like people know just to try and hit one and hope for the best sort of thing. And yeah, that one came off, but I can't really blame him for it. But you conceded 2 goals, we lost the game, made a few good saves. So I'll probably go just above average, 6.5, but that's how it's stretch.
No, fair enough. Clutch, what about you? 6 and 6.5 so far. What would you give Kepa on today?
I probably would have given him a 7, but he had one moment where he like kicked the ball right to, I think it was Welbeck, and he's lucky that it was a trash shot and he could get it back. So he could have really been punished for that. Other than that, I'd probably give him a 6.5. I thought he had 2 really good saves. I don't really agree that people were like, oh yeah, he should, like any other keeper saves. I'm sorry, they don't. Like the problem was, if you looked at where that guy took the shot, there was not a midfielder in sight to help. Not a midfielder in sight. The closest person was Fofana. Or no, it was Battle of the Shield, I think, actually. But
yeah.
So I don't know what anybody wants you to do. If anybody gets time and space to put it where they want, they're going to hit that top end. They have a good enough technique, and that's just what he did. So that's the unfortunate part.
Say that at the same time, like I said in the intro, I don't think that guy will ever score a better goal in his whole career. So it was his first goal for Brighton as well. That's another thing we love to do this season. Give everyone first goals. Everton not long ago. Now it's this one. My God, I can't hack it. But yeah, I'd agree. I was considering a 7 because I was really impressed with 2 of the saves first half. But like I say, the distribution is just... I still don't think he exudes any confidence to the team. But I'm like, can you even, we play a different back 4 or defense every week. We'll play a different midfield every week, every game. It doesn't even matter anymore. Let's just get this done. I don't think Kepa was the biggest issue today. It doesn't really matter. To get to the centre backs, to start with Maddsion, a lot of criticism was brought to various Chelsea managers, whether it was Potter, Bruno, or Frank Lampard, for not picking him on occasion previously. He wasn't good today, was he? There was a couple of nice interceptions, but sometimes he just kept giving the ball away. And then I think he looked really bad for the first goal we conceded, because that clearance, why are you clearing it 25 yards in front of our own goal? What is that? Clear it properly or just keep it. But don't do that. Like, what is that? And yeah, I was not happy. Honestly, I'd give him like a... I mean, if I bring up the stats, it would probably look better than I'm making out now. But I honestly wouldn't give him like a 4. Maybe even that at a push. So, yeah, I'll say 4 for now, but maybe you guys will convince me of something different. Aaron, let me start with you. What would you give Maddsion today? Because I don't know. Genuinely, I'm not sure if I'll give any outfield player more than at a push a 6. But most of these guys will be below a 5, honestly.
I thought he was poor, but I do feel sorry for him because when he was playing really well, he then got pulled out of the team, and I know what that can do to someone's confidence. So it's one of them where he hasn't really played all that much, and when he's been thrown in, he hasn't looked too good. I think he's going to need to play more football regularly before he can then start to build on that form. And unfortunately, he's not going to get it right now. So I do feel sorry for him in that sense. But yeah, he weren't great. That clearance for the first goal, I think he should have done a lot better because he's not really cleared it that far, and then they've gone on to get the ball back, crossed it in, and the other 2 were more at fault for that, if I'm being honest. But he should definitely be getting that ball further out. So I'll probably go with 4 as well.
You know what? Actually, I changed my mind to a 3, and I'll explain it. I'll show it on screen in a second because this is such a good point. The amount of times Kepa was telling Maddsion to push wider when we were trying to play out, and he never fucking did it. It's like, why? Just listen to what the goalkeeper's telling you, man. He's the guy passing the ball. He's the guy seeing the pitch. Why wouldn't you listen? Oh my God. Maybe I'll change my mind again. But Clutch, 4 from Aaron. Maybe he would have said something different if I didn't say 4 before, but I've changed it now. But what did you think of Maddsion, and what would you rate him?
I thought he was pretty bad today, to be honest. It is unfortunate because he hasn't really put a foot wrong the entire time. Is my mic still bad, by the way? Is it good?
Yeah, it's fine now. It seems like once you hit over the peak once, then it's like crazy until you quiet down again. Then it's okay.
All right, we'll keep it like this the entire time. I'm going to be monotone for the rest of the stream. I don't think he was that good today. I thought, and it was unfortunate for him because he didn't put a foot wrong, and then he just kind of didn't see the light of day for a while. But I thought he really struggled in 1v1s. He got past a lot way too easily. So I'd give him I'll be generous and give him the 4 probably.
All right, fair enough. Tom, maybe I will have to change my 3 to a 4 again. Maybe not. What did you make of Maddsion on the day, and what rating would you give him?
Yeah, I mean, I think he was even potentially maybe even slightly better than Fofana on the day because I thought he was really shaky as well, especially following on from midweek when Fofana played probably his worst game in a Chelsea shirt. Like, he struggled so much. I'd probably give Maddsion a 4, to be honest. For someone so tall, he's not particularly good at heading the ball yet. He doesn't really do anything when attacking play, not that Chelsea seem to get the ball actually past the first man from set pieces anyway. His clearances, as you say, they were rushed. They were really, really rash. There were times where he was literally just hacking the ball out of play. I mean, even if they were good balls, they'd struggle to be held up by the strikers anyway. He wasn't good today, and I was quite excited to see him and Fofana together because they are, what you think is going to be the future of this Chelsea defence. So it was really disappointing. But again, he's not helped, I think, by the sheer change. There was no protection in front of him. For the goal, it was just bad. On his part as a centre-back, you've got to try and take command, and nobody in that back line took command basically all day. There was very, very little in front of him. I was going to it was a struggle, probably his worst game in a Chelsea shirt so far, which is a shame. But again, as you say, it is worth pointing out that he has been in and out of the team, and Chalobah the same. He's playing out of position. We'll get to him a little bit.
To be honest, that goes for everyone other than Enzo and Kepa. Really, they're being in and out of the team thing.
Yeah, it's a massive problem when you've got a squad that big. The players that missed out today, 4 or 5 of them for most of our Premier League teams would probably start. So,
yeah, exactly. Let's take it to Wesley Fofana. I do feel a bit bad for him because it felt like, in the last game it was a back 3, obviously, but especially today, it just felt like he had to be fullback and centre back at the same time. And how are you ever going to achieve that? Because Chalobah never stopped Mitoma, so Fofana always had to try and help. He never succeeded at helping, but he always still had to try, which obviously then meant more space in the middle, which made it more difficult for everyone there. The amount of chances that Brighton had, McAllister could have scored about 3 goals himself, simply from cutbacks from Mitoma, but he missed every single one of them. It's diabolical. So I do think Fofana was really poor. I still feel bad for him in a way, but again, the first goal, even worse than Maddsion, because Maddsion was a bad clearance. How Fofana, he's right on Welbeck. Now, I know it goes behind him, so it's also Chalobah's fault. I will talk about that when we get to Chalobah. But from Fofana, it was poor to let Welbeck win that header. From Chalobah, it was poor to let Welbeck win that header. Fofana never stopped the winger, never really stopped anyone much. Well, he had one good moment where he turned into Rudiger and started running across the pitch. That was nice. I still like him. I rate him a lot. But at the moment, it's just, maybe it was a bit unlucky in terms of the 2 games we played where the left winger is just that good and had that good of a game on both occasions. And the right back just let Fofana down miserably on both occasions. But, my God. I know if you guys gave Maddsion a 4, I'll stick to my 3 and I'll give Fofana the same 3. I don't think there's much worth to give him lower or higher. It's it was just poor. maybe he even does deserve a little bit more of a conclusive 3 for me because it wasn't obviously fully decided with Maddsion. Clutch, I'll let you go first. Did you think Fofana was any worse than Maddsion? How did you feel that's all bad for him? Because it felt like he was playing fullback and centre back at the same time, to me at least.
I mean, I felt really bad for him because every time Mitoma got past Chalobah and whoever else was over there, because Zakaria was nowhere to be found on that side for whatever reason, or had to go to Fofana. I think Fofana did stop him a couple of times, but I'd probably give him like a 4, probably 4.5, because I thought defensively he was a little bit better than Maddsion, and he had a lot more to deal with than Maddsion did. So I'd probably go 4.5, probably.
Fair. I mean, to be fair, his defensive stats are better than Maddsion's in terms of tackles 1 and ground duels 1. Well, actually, ground duels not true. Fofana actually was worse on those. No, yeah, fair enough. So did you say 4 or 4.5 in the end?
4.5.
All right. Tom, I'll let you go. What do you think? You said he was maybe even worse than Maddsion, so what would you give him?
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 out of a bad bunch there, isn't it? It's not particularly bothered about slating one for being worse than the other. I think he wasn't as good. I think, as you say, like he got less support from Chalobah than Chilwell. Obviously, Matoma's a harder player to play against than Solly March on the other side as well. And I mean, I'm thinking about players coming back from up front. Maybe Mudryk's a slightly better tracker than Pulisic, but it's probably marginal if true at all, to be honest. Yeah, he definitely struggled. Again, yeah, say worst performance in a Chelsea shirt, probably massively struggled without an older player next to him, like, for all Koulibaly's faults, a little bit more of an experienced head potentially. No Reece James on the right-hand side of him either. I mean, against Real Madrid, Fofana was hung out to dry quite often by James as well, not trying to cheat in terms of pushing forward. Chalobah just didn't really offer anything in terms of doing anything. He didn't stop him going inside, didn't stop him coming down the line, he didn't stop him passing. It was a tough afternoon for both of them. So yeah, probably a 4. I mean, it was a shame. It was a really bad defensive pairing, but as you say, like, you can't just pin it on the defenders because ultimately the ball ended up right in front of them pretty much every single time, no matter what was going on. Every time Chelsea did get the ball and passed it to either the fullbacks or the midfielders, the ball just kept coming straight back because it was bouncing off the Brighton centre-backs. I mean, Caicedo was everywhere winning the ball before Chelsea could get the ball past him. So there was just no time to reset, no time to do anything. And those two really struggled and felt probably the brunt of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Aaron, finish it off for Fofana for us. A 4.5, a 4, and a 3 from my end. What would you give him?
I thought he was worse than Maddsion, just on the eye test. I haven't looked into the stats, to be honest, but just on the eye test, he wasn't. Oh my God, Haaland made it 3-0. Yeah, he wasn't great. It's literally the same thing as what I said on Wednesday. He got his pants pulled down today. Like, I get they didn't have much help, but he was getting skinned for fun. Like, it was really, really not good to see. And these last 2 games, he's been horrible defensively. But it's one of them where the rest of the season he's been very good. So it's difficult to say that, like, put too much on him. But at the same time, I know he didn't get much help, but you can't be putting in that kind of performance. It was dreadful. You think where Chalobah's not as good defensively as Fofana is, you'd think that if Fofana gets into that duel with Mitoma, you'd expect him to do a lot better than Chalobah would, and you'd expect him to at least give Mitoma a better fight than he did and actually stop him at times. But I felt like he didn't really do that. Mitoma got him way too easy, so I'd go with a 3 as well.
Fair enough. We'll give it a 3.5 overall then. And let's move on to Trevor Chalobah. And I'll keep this one quite short and simple. I remember him having 1 good tackle. He gets 1 point for that tackle. That's all he gets. Like, I know maybe I should and could give him the benefit of the doubt of, well, he's not a right back that had to play right back. But how do I, feed that into the rating? Fact of the matter is, he was dreadful. He didn't get the better of Mitoma once. Now, Mitoma is an absolutely wonderful player. The touch he has, the foreshadowing he can seemingly do and just knows where people are going to be and how he can get around it. Is so mighty impressive, honestly. But Trevor's lucky that I'm not giving him a 0, if I'm honest. So, 1 good tackle, you get your 1 point for that, but that is literally it. And I don't even know what else I can say about it. Aaron, do you agree that Chalobah was like worse than the other two, or would you go more with similar ratings as you gave Fofana and Badiashile?
But he was lucky you didn't give him the 0, but he's not so lucky when it comes to me because he was dreadful. He was horrible, honestly. Like, I genuinely think Azpilicueta would have done better than Chalobah, and that's saying something because I think Azpi's so washed. But Chalobah it was horrific. He started off the season well and has just fallen off a cliff. I get that he hasn't played much, he hasn't had the opportunities, but Lord have mercy, he has looked dreadful when he's played recently. So yeah, keep it short and sweet. He got absolutely annihilated by Matoma. There's a reason he done a thesis in dribbling because the man is he's honestly insane. Like the Brighton's recruitment, being able to pick him up the way that they did for how much they did is fair play to them. Because
it's only positive because the guys that got him to Brighton now work for us.
Yeah, well, guaranteed they're not going to find anyone like him now.
No,
I can guarantee that. Yeah, because
if we try to sign some random Japanese Donny, Mr. Bowley and Dikbali would be like, well, who is he? And then we wouldn't sign him. Do you know what I mean? At the same time, we did it with Dacia Fofana, and he's not even good enough for the under 21, so that's brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I just give you one stat, by the way? I know you've given him the 0 already, but how is Chalobah playing right back and being 6'3", whatever he is, and wins 2 out of 7 aerial duels? How is that even possible as a right back?
Because
the
reason it's possible.
5 out of 7.
It's possible because he's shit.
Yeah, exactly. And
he's not
goal
shit,
as well.
He's poor.
You're so much taller than Welbeck. Do something. It's just dreadful. Sorry, Aaron. Anything more you'd like to add? Otherwise, I'll move on to the guys.
Yeah, the Welbeck duel with him and Fofana is criminal for them both to have allowed Welbeck to, while he's backpedaling, get in between the two of them and get the header and somehow manage to knock it in. Honestly, that pissed me off so much.
Welbeck's right in front of Chalobah the whole time as well. It's not even like he's moved behind him. He's right in front of him the whole time.
Just bully him, man. Let's just give him a little shove him into Fofana. There's not going to be enough to get a penalty. Let's be honest. Lean on him a little bit as you jump to stop him from, like, everyone does it against us. They constantly lean on our players when like we try to like score a goal in the box. We're constantly getting pushed and shoved and lent on, but our players do nothing. It's like they play non-contact sport. This is not basketball. This is not flag football. This is serious football. Like, do something.
I don't understand how he got on a yellow card relatively early on and he survived the whole game. I don't understand it.
Yeah, was it?
He should have been the first to have been hooked.
Remember when he got booked? 51st.
He should have been the first to have been hooked.
Relatively early, yeah. It's just honestly, I wish every game for weeks, and well, that's another thing. I wish Graham Potter back. Not for long, not for permanent, but I just wish we just stuck with it until the end of the season because it would not have been this bad. It just wouldn't have. I know we lost against Aston Villa, but please compare the performance against Villa to today. You know, just compare it and then tell me it wasn't much better. Tom, I'll get to you. Many different thoughts on Chalobah or similar?
No, I hardly have anything to add. I don't know if we're talking about the same. This is how bad his game was. You know, the one tackle you were talking about. Is that the one where he got completely done by the ball over the top? Mitoma took a really good touch and then he basically got a little bit unlucky with his touch. Chalobah sort of recovered. That's the only thing I really remember Chalobah doing in that first half. And if that's the one tackle he made,
how we got to the tackle that I'm thinking of, so I can't tell you.
The only time I can remember him making a tackle was a ball over the top. He'd been completely done blindsided, and he almost lucked out to get it. I do feel bad for Chalobah, and like I keep sort of trying to defend the players. It's not defending the players, but like they're just victims almost of what's the mess that's going on at Chelsea. Because Chalobah has played all over the place for Chelsea, and he hasn't loads of the time put a foot wrong, especially when playing in a back three. He's been decent enough as a squad player, and here you are, you put him at right back in front of an untried midfield, an untried defence, without any sort of leadership, without any sort of tactical plan, without any sort of structure, against a team completely confident in their abilities, especially when going forward, especially when funneling the ball to Mitoma. He was just hung out to dry, and obviously he did a really bad job at trying to stop it. But I question Chelsea for putting him in that position in the first place.
Yeah, No, I don't disagree. Well, did you say a rating? If you did, sorry, I was just reading quotes from Lampard after the game.
I don't really have a rating. I feel harsh giving somebody like a 0, so like probably a 1 or a 2. I don't really want to give a rate. I feel really harsh doing that. I mean, he's been minced all game.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, you can take solace, I guess, from the fact that he won't see this, so it's okay. But I'll take it as a 1 from your end then. Clutch, finish it off in terms of Chalobah. What would you give him?
A 1. That's all.
Give him that.
I
1.
feel bad for him. 1.
At least we're a bit nicer than Aaron. Sorry, Aaron. Yeah, I mean, we said a lot about it. Let's just move on to Chilwell on the other side. But Clutch, so you do have something to say before everyone else has said everything. On Chilwell, what did you make of him? Obviously, got sent off Wednesday. Won't be able to play Tuesday, so we all knew that he was going to play and start and play the whole night today. It was certainly not the worst of the bunch, but when Solly March did him with that one dummy, I was like, excuse me, what is that? If Cucurella did that, the whole fan base would be clipping that one moment and memeing it for the whole rest of the season. That was embarrassing. Like, come on, bro. But yeah, I mean, he tried to get involved higher up the pitch. He tried his best. I don't think he was as bad as the others, but he was still not good, was he?
No, he had 2 completed passes at halftime, by the way. Just so we're aware. Yeah.
But how many attempted did he have?
Ouch.
I don't know at that time. I just remember seeing a stat that he only had 2 completed passes at halftime. So
he had 25 in the second half.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Because he has a pass completion of 90% with 27.
And you want to know why? I'll give you a reason why. I know this has
whatever stat you saw was wrong.
No, I don't think so. I really don't think so.
He can't have 30 passes.
I can tell you. I'll tell you right now.
2 in the first half.
He was complaining at Mudryk to not give him an outlet. I seen him doing it, and I seen somebody else because he was telling them, they were like arguing back and forth, and he was like, "Come back! I need you to come back because I have nowhere to pass the ball." So he just goes backwards.
Well, what he should have done is what he started doing at the end: play it over the top and let Mudryk run. It's quite simple. That's why Mudryk didn't come back, because he's the only one fast enough to play over the top.
Yeah, but I thought he was poor. Solly March absolutely just rinsed him pretty much for the most part of the game. I don't think he really dealt with him that well at all. And if it was Cucurella, we'd be absolutely skinning him. So I'm giving Chilwell a 2.
Fair. Yeah, 3 out of 3 tackles, but only 4 out of 10 ground duels. My God, that's even worse than Chalobah. Yeah, fair enough. Give him that too. I'll let you go, Tom. What did you make of Chile? Did you think it was much better than Chalobah? Do you agree with Clutch that he was even worse than the centre back?
No, I don't think it was probably worse than the centre backs, but it was like the least effective you've seen Ben Chilwell for a while. I think he also really struggled. It was a bit of a continuation of midweek again. Like the ball seemed to get funneled out to him in possession the other day. It was always him and Koulibaly. And today, I mean, I hardly remember him running past Mudryk. I mean, not many people can, but like even trying to keep up with Mudryk, everything was so disconnected anyway. I mean, Chilwell, even when Chelsea have been bad going forward, like I'm thinking like the Leeds game and things like that, even in those situations, Chilwell's usually a bright spark moving forward, and today he just wasn't at all. It's the most blunted I can remember him. And to be honest, I don't really remember Chilwell doing anything during the game. And I guess perhaps harsh because of the position that the cross comes in is more of a midfield issue, but Solly March's cross for the goal comes from his side. There's no massive pressure on it. They've got 2 men over there. Chilwell doesn't really apply any pressure. It was completely ineffective. And in the defensive third, which Chelsea were for almost all of the game, was getting little to no help from Mudryk at all. I guess that you can say that's part of the game plan. Really, really bad again. I mean, nothing positive or even particularly defensive to say about Chilwell today. A 2 is probably about it, maybe 2.5, just because I don't think he got absolutely destroyed like Chalobah did one-on-one, but he wasn't effective or useful.
Yeah, no, there you go. Aaron, Chilwell, a 2.5 so far. What are you going to give him? Did you think it was any, if much, better than Chalobah or the defenders, the centre-back, sorry?
Oh, he was definitely better than Chalobah. That's a given. Chalobah was the worst player on the pitch by a country mile. But in terms of his overall performance, it wasn't great. Like, it's difficult because I don't think he was that far off the other 2 in terms of the centre backs. But Yeah, just for what I know of Chilwell, what I expect is it really was not good. I'll probably go with like a 3.
Fair. I mean, honestly, I was thinking 4. If I'm honest, now I'm questioning whether I was wrong in that, and you guys have changed my mind or not, because I just felt like Brighton were doing all their things on, well, their left, our right-hand side, and then after they destroyed us over there, they switched play to the other side where Chilwell had to defend that whole side on his own. So I'm like, well, yeah, he's obviously not going to look great because he had to do all of it by himself because 9 of the other players were trying to defend the right-hand side and were failing miserably at it. That's probably thinking a 4, but I guess that leaves us at a 3 regardless.
Actually, I'll change mine to a 4 because I just realized he wasn't any worse than Badiashile.
Yeah, well, fair enough. I mean, it still kind of leaves us at a 3 with 1-2 and 1-2.5. So we move on. Let's get to Zakaria. I think Tom touched on it earlier in terms of that he hasn't played in a long time, obviously. I mean, Alex, your expert, was telling us on Tuesday that maybe we should play Zakaria as a 6 against Madrid. If I see him play today, I'm like, well, thank God we flipping didn't. Honestly, I'm even more tempted to give him a 0 than I was with Chalobah, because he was just so lost. He had 12 passes in the whole game. He had 19 touches, and he played 74 minutes. How can you be the deepest midfielder and have 19 touches? How's that a thing? Like 0 out of 4 ground duels won, 0 out of 0 aerial duels, so he wasn't even in one. Committed 1 foul. He only had 1 block, 1 clearance, 1 header clearance, no interceptions, no recoveries. I'm giving him a 0. His pass completion is not bad, 75%, but 9 out of 12. 9 passes, really. No, honestly. It was just not there. I mean, again, maybe it's a little bit... Just the issues became the most prominent in midfield because obviously defenders are a bit more structured into where they have to be, no matter what system you're playing, no matter how out of shape or out of sync all of the tactics are. It's more of an issue in midfield, so this might not be all on him directly, but it's still fact of the matter is that he was awful. You have 19 touches, 9 successful passes, not a single successful tackle, not a single successful duel. It was just awful from top to bottom. And quite frankly, he could have also given away a penalty when Kepa made a great save from Evan Ferguson header, I think. And he just hit the guy in the leg. And honestly, I don't really understand why something like that isn't given as a foul. Because Evan Ferguson headed the ball and then Zakaria kicked it. Why shouldn't that? Just because the guy headed the ball before he got kicked doesn't mean it's not a foul. So if anything, I thought we got lucky on that anyway. But yeah, I think it was awful. I know, Aaron, you said Chalobah was the worst player, which I genuinely think it was Zakaria. And yeah, he got spun like it was less obvious maybe than Chalobah, but Chalobah was obviously 1-on-1 against Brighton's main offensive outlet. Well, Zakaria just got overplayed and wasn't even there. Like he was just he had so no grip on the game that he just, like I say, 0 out of 4 ground duels, 0 attempted tackles according to this stat here anyway, 0 aerial duels. How's that even a thing? Oh, it's just awful, man. And again, I don't not necessarily because he's awful and he's the worst player in the world. But fact of the matter is, it was awful what we saw from him. That's all I can say. Aaron, I'll let you go first. What do you think?
I fully forgot he was even on the pitch. I'm not gonna lie.
He played longer than most of the others as well. He got 74. He wasn't even part of the quadruple sub.
I didn't even remember until you said Zakaria for a rating. I thought, the fuck? I didn't even know it was on the pitch. But nah, Chalobah was definitely still worse. But yeah, Zakaria's also a 0. That was the fact that he was so unnoticeable in the whole game and done literally nothing, and Brighton had the amount of attacks and their midfield had so much joy, and he was the deepest lying of them all, having that many touches. Yeah, it's a straight 0. Not really much to say. Yeah,
there you go. Fair enough. I do find it funny. He was not as bad as Chalobah, but still the same right. Clutch. 0 for you as well.
Can I just clear that one up?
Give him a higher rating than that? Go on, Aaron. Sorry.
I'll just clear up what I meant. Chalobah was definitely the worst on the pitch, and I would have given him negative if I could have. But just because both are 0 doesn't mean one wasn't worse than the other.
I hear that. Hey, sometimes we have 2 players on good ratings and still one was better than the other, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's fair. There you go. Clutch, is there anything you saw that gives him more than a 0?
No, I'm still shocked that he didn't get a penalty called against him. I don't know how that. I mean, that's a penalty all day long, and we'd be all losing our mind if that.
The guy had to come off, man.
And I'm like, I don't understand how he never the ball was ahead, like a header, and he only tackled his leg
with his foot. I don't understand.
Like, it makes no sense how that's not a penalty. Maybe it's because they were like, well, he got the header off, so it doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, I still would have wanted a penalty. Azir is probably the most appropriate. Like, Ghost is probably the best because I just didn't know where he was other than
Shall we give him a ghost emoji rather than a 0?
I mean, I didn't notice him.
Oh,
The ghost emoji is a bit too happy looking. That's my only issue with it.
Zakaria Snapchat.
Yeah, Snapchat, Casper, whatever you want to call it. I mean, Casper Zakaria would be a better name.
I hate Casper.
I will say. But yeah, sorry. Anything you wanted to add to that still?
Nope. We're good.
Tom, sometimes we have to make ourselves feel a little bit better by trying to be funny and failing miserably and pulling emojis out of our asses. But whether you give it a rating or agree on a ghost emoji, what did you make of him? Like Aaron said, he weren't even there other than potentially giving a penalty away, it felt like.
Yeah, genuinely, like as you say, for a defensive midfielder to have 19 touches, whether it doesn't have to be. Even if Chelsea can get dominated and a player can have touches just from, I don't know, ratting around or doing something, but he didn't impact the game at all. Like, it wasn't even like he was just getting the ball and misplacing passes and was having a Bakayoko. He was just doing nothing. Like, he wasn't blocking off passing lanes. He wasn't disrupting play. He wasn't receiving the ball. He wasn't making or giving any options to those around him on the ball. He, as you say, the ghost, he genuinely may as well have not been there.
I'm genuinely not even making a joke. I literally didn't know when I seen him other than when he made the tackle. That injured. I literally didn't see him. And I was sitting there watching. I'm like, I can see Enzo running around, trying his little heart out, but not kind of getting pocketed. But like Zakaria, I was like, where is he? I have no clue.
He just needs to dye his hair blonde and you'll see him.
Maybe that's it. Go on, Tom. Anything else you wanted to say on that?
No, that's it. But how Chelsea got to the stage where they haven't played him since January, and all of a sudden they think, oh yeah, we'll just play him here. Fair enough.
Why not Ruben? I know he was.
That's the way to prepare to Madrid, is it? That's the way to prepare for Real Madrid is play Zakaria, who's not going to play. Doesn't make any sense. I mean, when was the last time he was on the bench? I don't know. Has he just been?
He was injured for a while. To be fair, obviously in this period, it wasn't never picked, but it's difficult though because if you want to rest Kante, if you want to rest Cover, who do you play? It's kind of you're choosing between Ruben and Zakaria, I guess.
I guess the point was to try and free up Fernandez a little bit further forward because he's not your number 5. He's not your sort of player that sits in front of the defence and picks it up. He likes to play in sort of a double pivot or a little bit of a freer role than I think Chelsea have tried to use him. So I sort of like the fact that with the 3 in midfield against Real Madrid, against Liverpool. And even today, it's given him space to be a bit more free. But so far, it's just not worked at all and not really looked like working.
Take it straight to Enzo. What did you make of him and what would you rate him, bro?
It's quite funny how you said that Enzo isn't really a number 5 and that's the exact number on his back as well.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Then again, I'm trying to think of another player whose number represents.
Well, Kante is the number 7, so But yeah, no, Tom, I'll stick with you. As you touch on Enzo, what would you rate him? What did you make of him? Because you're exactly right. That's maybe what we tried. And that's what I think the most embarrassing part about today is. I think Frank wanted to kind of go for it today a little bit and bring some confidence back into the team, be on the front foot. But we were just so badly outplayed that Enzo, while being maybe supposed to be a kind of ahead of Zakaria in the end, he was kind of pinned to around our own box as well. And never having anyone to pass the ball to. That's essentially what the situation he faced.
It was a bit like Madrid, where every time he sort of got the ball, he didn't really have anybody to go to or to pass to quickly. He was just surrounded by white shirts or weird orangey red coloured shirts. He just didn't seem to have any sort of options around him at all. And so he sort of resorts to the Hollywood pass, which obviously comes off every now and then. He's got these nice balls in behind and they are going to work. But it's just highlighted yet again that Chelsea's midfield is not complete now. We've signed Enzo Fernandez, that there needs to be other players around him. He ratted around, he ran around, he tried to put pressure on the ball. But ultimately, it was practically a one-man mission because Gallagher was up pressing further forward. None of the other forwards were putting any pressure on the ball. And Zakaria was, as we've already said, sort of ghosting around. So Fernandez was basically a one-man midfield in front of the defence by the time you're sort of taking the other things to account. It would probably be generous to give him anything more than a 5, so probably a 4.5, maybe.
Bro, I think even that is a push. I'll shock you with something now, if you haven't looked at the stats yet. Against Real Madrid, Enzo Fernandez had 112 touches. Today, he had 31. He had 21 attempted passes, 17 of which completed.
Like before
he
today,
only attempted 2 long balls. Until a week ago, he always had over double digits. Since Frank Lampard has turned up, he's never even scraped 7.
As I say, before under Potter, late Potter, he was averaging more touches per game than any other player in the Premier League, even more than Rodri, albeit the small sample size. And his progressive passes were also through the roof. Again,
he only
albeit
played 2
small
passes
sample
into the
size.
final third today. That tells you all you need to know, really.
He just wasn't allowed to do anything that he's basically good at doing, which pretty much sums up Chelsea at the moment.
Yeah, no, exactly that. And I mean, he was better than Zakaria. He had 4 out of 8 successful ground duels. Also 0 aerial duels. Apparently attempted no tackles, but the tackle stat is obviously a bit dodgy. But at least he had an interception and 2 recoveries, like Zakaria. But honestly, I wouldn't even go as high as you did, Tom, if I'm honest. I'd probably give him like a 3, maybe at a push, a 3.5. So we'll leave it at a 4 for the time being and see what the boys say before we decide on the final rating. Clutch, what did you make of Enzo?
I thought he got pocketed by Enciso quite heavily. I thought Enciso was absolutely just running him wild today, which is like unfortunate because those are between the two we were going for. We went for Enzo, even though I like Enzo a lot. I think Enzo is going to be a really good player if you put a DM next to him to kind of give him that freedom to run. But I would give Enzo a 3. I thought genuinely he was not good at all today.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree, mate. I don't disagree. Yes, I will do that. Aaron. When we get to Lampard, I will get it up on screen. The problem is, if I could do 2 things on the screen at once, I would have brought it up already. But fair enough, a 3 from your end. I guess we lower it down to a 3.5 already now. Then, Aaron, would you go along with what Clutch said in terms of rating for Enzo? What did you make of him? It's a bit like with Chalobah, not in terms that he was as bad, but where I'm like, more so than with Fofana, I guess, where I just feel a bit bad because of actual midfield play. We literally gave Zakaria a ghost emoji. He literally had to do it again by himself. It's a bit, and also like Sterling, we'll get to that later, where I'm like, it's an impossible task. Like, impossible. I don't care how good you are. Other than Kante, no one can do that in midfield. Not player in the world can do what Enzo would have been required to do today to actually not be bad.
Enzo already isn't particularly the most mobile of players. He's not really got that agility that you'd expect somebody of his frame to have. So for him to have to do multiple jobs at once, it was never going to work. He was basically surrounded by a crop of shit, really. Like
he was surrounded by Brighton players. That's what it was.
Well, they're definitely not a crop of shit, but
nope.
In terms of in the midfield, he had nothing to really work with. He had to do a lot on his own, and I do feel bad for him because if he had more quality around him, you'd be able to see him, especially when he's actually being able to play as a number 8. He needs that kind of quality around him in order to be able to really perform.
He wasn't even a real 8 today, like, was he? Let's be honest, man.
No, he didn't have the luxury of being able to be a number 8 properly because they had to clean up for Zakaria doing absolutely nothing really. Yeah. Like you had to try and be in that position as well as try and be a number 8. So I feel bad for him. I'll go with a 3 because he didn't do all that much himself, but I do feel bad.
Fair enough. Just quickly, if maybe people didn't pay the attention to it or whatever, but off the ball, we basically did this. So Sterling and Gallagher were high. Then Enzo and Zakaria pressed to about here. Like I say, Mudryk and Pulisic were in about those positions. But these guys were no higher than this. Like, to be honest, that's not even doing it enough. It was more like this. And then we had this gap. I'm like, oh, let's pretend to be surprised we're getting destroyed. Look at this gap. And this is what the whole game was like this.
That's exactly what Brighton do. The Brighton's whole plan is creating the artificial transitions and waiting on the
play
ball.
Out slowly from the back to force you to press them, and then they can't pass and beat you with one, and you're fucked. Like, it's literally... It's crazy. All right, let's get to Gallagher then. He scored our only goal. Made sure we didn't go 5 games without scoring a goal for the first time it was 4 games without a goal for the first time in 30 years. No idea how many years it would have been for the first time of not scoring for 5 games. So he did well for that. He certainly worked his flipping socks off more than most. I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, so he got very harshly booked at 94% pass accuracy, 33 of 35. 2 successful dribbles. Apparently only 1 tackle. Not sure how that's in. 3 blocks, 1 clearance, 1 header clearance, 3 interceptions, 7 recoveries, more than all the others. But ground duels was poor still, 4 out of 11. Average duels 2 out of 2 at least. But he scored, so I'm gonna give him a 5. Better than most, but it still wasn't good. And we have issues with Mount, whether it's the contract, whether it's whatever else. But Mount not being fit to start games, which I think is the reason he's not starting. I don't think this is a contract situation why he's not starting. We know he has a pubic bone issue. We know he has kind of a hernia thing going on. That's not a fun injury to have. If anything, it's crazy that he's even going through it to the extent that he is. But having to play Gallagher as much as he is and him playing the whole 90 isn't an ideal situation for us to be in. But at least you have one that tries. I mean, as what I had on screen a second ago in terms of how we pressed, it did work on a few occasions. That's how we created our chances. That's how we created a fair few chances this way. Not like crazy loads, but in different kind of form with players that are capable of scoring goals. We could have scored a couple of goals ourselves easily, but and I feel like most of those situations started from Gallagher. So fair play to him, but I still don't think it was enough to even give him a 6. I'll be perfectly honest. Clutch, I'll let you go first. You said earlier he was not that you didn't use the word bright spark, but one of the 2 players that cared. Caring isn't enough, but working hard does help compared to not working hard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to people are not going to like this. He's probably going to get the highest rating out of any of the front 4, in my opinion.
I disagree, but yeah, okay.
I know you're going to pick Mudryk. I'm sorry. I'll explain my reasoning. I'm going to give him a 5.5. Okay. I kind of wanted to give him a 6. I thought he worked really hard. He was the reason why we were actually able to win the ball back up top most of the time. Like, he's the reason why when he was pressing hard and allowing other players to kind of catch up. The unfortunate thing is, like, it's the basics that he doesn't have, I guess. And like, he even got the ball at one point and he should have shot first time and he took another touch and lost the ball. But I give him a 5.5.
No, fair enough. Aaron, what did you make of Gallagher? What rating would you give him?
He was one of the better players on the pitch, which doesn't say too much because most of the rest was shit. But I don't like Conor Gallagher. I don't think I've ever made that a secret. I don't like him as a player. But one thing that you can never fault him for is that he really tries. Like, we piss about, say, oh yeah, he runs around like a headless chicken, but he really does try hard. Like, he presses, he tries to win the ball back. He just doesn't have much technical ability, which is his downfall, because that's a lot of what you need, and he just doesn't have it, unfortunately for him. But today, I'm not going to give him credit for the goal because it was such a heavy deflection that I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, like he scored the goal. I'm not giving him credit for that. But he did have it wasn't great. It was okay. I'll give him a 5.
Fair enough. Tom, finish Gallagher. Offer us. What would you give him?
I'm actually a massive Conor Gallagher fan. More of what he can be rather than what he has been for Chelsea. I think he needs a defined role in a team, and he absolutely doesn't have that at Chelsea. Just like lots of players, he was probably Chelsea's best player. Mudryk a close second. I also was quite positive about Mudryk's performance from today. Like, Gallagher's never going to control a game. He's never going to give you the tempo. He's never going to dictate things. He's not really a creator. He's a bit of a unique player as such. He doesn't have the technical quality exactly. He's not going to dribble you out of tight spaces, but he is just going to get through patches of games. And today was one of those. Like, when Chelsea was so spineless as they were today, someone like Gallagher really stands out. And he's the sort of player I think you sort of need at a club, especially when you're really struggling. But because without Gallagher today, there would have been very little positivity. So you can't really lose that in a team. And he was, I guess, a bright spark. I don't know if it's the right word exactly because of how poor Chelsea were. And as I say, his sort of lack of actual quality on the ball. But like, he's one of the few players that can come off and sort of think, well, at least I tried today. Not that I didn't think other players tried, but like he
tried to an extent where
there was one moment he made
mentioning thing,
There was one moment when we punted the ball deep into their half, and then they were slightly walking back, and he sprinted like a 50-yard sprint to go get it back. Like, and I didn't see anybody else even try that. And multiple different times I saw them pass the ball to Gallagher when he had like 3 different people around him, and he was like, they were expecting him to like somehow figure it out, and he did. He always got out of it. So, in my opinion, he did the best out of what the situation needed.
Yeah, and he doesn't try to hide. Like he will always keep asking for the ball, and he will keep on getting up, and he will keep on doing all of these things that other players just won't do. And that's why I think he's so important, because other players, as we said, like they were hiding out there today, and lots of people weren't willing to take accountability. And Gallagher doesn't try to act like he is something that he's not. And he's the sort of player that a fan base will really, the match-going fan base, people at Stamford Bridge will really rally behind. But you can see why he's the sort of people that people on social media will easily ridicule, because he's not your sort of aesthetic, easy-to-watch footballer.
It's just not a footballer that, to me, is suited to a team that, in an ideal world, would try to win the league. He's not good enough to start for a team like that. In terms of,
we need to think about staying in the league before we think about winning it.
No, of course, but that's still the expectations that the fans have. That's what they judge him by.
To me,
and that's why they don't care about trying. No, but the trying is the one thing we've lacked most of this season.
Like, if you boil things down to Chelsea being really bad and not doing the basics and lacking quality and structure, then somebody like Gallagher becomes even more important, because without what he offers and his skill set, there is nothing there. There is nothing to the team, and he at least brings that, which a lot of other people don't bring.
Yeah, no, I'm not in too much of a disagreement. Tom, I'm not sure. Did you give a rating from your end?
Just because he was the best player, I'll give him a 6.
Right. So with Clutch's 5.5, we'll give him a 5.5. Fair dues to you, kind of. At least you helped us score a goal. It's a little less miserable than if we lost by not scoring. Do you know what I mean? That's all I'll say. Let's get to Christian Pulisic. He's another one who I felt a little bit bad for, because, well, Chalobah behind him had no control over what was happening. Zakaria, obviously, in midfield didn't help either Chalobah or the midfield. Fofana was trying to push out. Pulisic was supposed to help. He was also failing miserably at that. I also think he got lucky for not giving a penalty away. Not that he could have done much about it, but it was just a handball. And nowadays, it just feels like every time a hand touches the ball, the refs just give a pen. So I was surprised that they didn't, if I'm being perfectly honest. I'll take it. Not that it mattered in the end, but I was surprised. But going forward, we had one moment where he did well, fought his way through, but then finished it off with an absolutely dreadful cross. Just absolutely no one. He only attempted 7 passes, even less than Zakaria, and obviously played higher up the pitch. We always struggle to get the ball higher up the pitch, so I understand where it comes from. Still bad. He completed 6 of those 7, which in percentage still then doesn't sound great with 86, but he only didn't complete 1 pass, which is okay, I guess. 2 out of 2 completed dribbles. Crosses was 0 out of 1, and that was extra bad. Ground duels, 3 out of 5, all right, but touches, 18, 1 less even than Zakaria. Obviously, he played less than Zakaria. He got subbed in that quadruple sub in the 56th minute. But other than that one moment where he, did well, I don't really know what he did well. Most of the time, it looked like he ran into players and lost the ball, as it happens so often with him when he doesn't get regular game time. And unfortunately, he never really gets regular game time. So, but it was a tough ask. Like, he was so wide, but we never got the ball, number one, in the wide areas, and number 2, high enough of the pitch that he could really affect anything, especially coming off the right. Like, when he's off the left, at least he can dribble into the center with his right foot. When he starts off the right, he doesn't really do that as much, dribbling into the middle then with his left foot. And then if you never receive the ball, you're never going to create much threat. So I don't really know what to give him, but he wasn't exactly good. I'm going to give him a 3, maybe. I'm not sure if that's fair or not, but I'm going to say that. Tom, I'll let you go first on this one. Is 3 about the realms where you'd go, or what would you say?
Yeah, I wouldn't have ever gone more than 4, probably like 3.5 maybe, just because he didn't really get the ball that much. I mean, he was playing on the same side as Chalobah, who hardly got above the halfway line, didn't offer him anything in behind, not that there was much in behind anyway. Estupiñán had him, it like pinned that right-hand side back completely. And he was playing as part of a completely dysfunctional attack that lacks any sort of cohesion. When he does get the ball, a little bit like Felix, when you see him now, like he looks like he wants to try and dribble and take players on, because there's just nothing around him. There's no sort of structure, because Chelsea don't build up play properly. When they lose the ball, they don't have anything to bounce back on. He just didn't get the ball very much, and he didn't really have anybody around him when he did get it. It was a quiet performance. I mean, and here's another player that's just been in and out of the team for ages, you know, comes on as a sub against Borussia Dortmund, then doesn't play against Leicester, then starts against Everton, and then doesn't play against Aston Villa, I don't think. Like, it's just ups and downs and ins and outs, and it's really hard to find any sort of momentum, especially when you're coming back from injury. And he's a player that's lacked any sort of confidence and hasn't really produced things when he's been on the pitch anyway. But then again, none of Chelsea's attackers has. It's hard to say that he is in general better or worse than Chelsea's other attackers at the moment, which just sums up the whole sort of thing in general. I mean, I prefer to see him play over Ziyech, but long term, his future's not at the club. So I'm questioning why he is playing over somebody like Madueke again.
It wasn't even in the squad. It's just outrageous. Unless Frank just thinks Madueke is awful, but then that's another issue. Did you say 3.5 in the end, bro, or 3?
I'll go for 3, because now I'm a little bit more angry again because we lost.
Yeah, fair enough. Clutch, I'll let you go. Do you think we're being harsh? Now, obviously, I did feel bad for him, because a little bit like Sterling, we'll get to him in a minute. It felt like a bit of an impossible task. At the same time, did it feel any more or less impossible for him than it did for Mudryk? And Mudryk certainly did more than Pulisic did. But yeah, I mean, you can whether you give him a 3 or give him a 4, doesn't really matter. Fact of the matter is, he didn't really manage to do anything in the game. He didn't manage to help defensively. He didn't manage to help offensively. But how much of that is his fault is difficult to say, other than obviously, I mean, as someone said here, when you fall over every time you get the ball, what's the point? And every time is obviously a drastic exaggeration, but it does seem to be a bit of a thing that Pulisic falls over more than most, without getting fouled, which I just find a bit strange. Like, because it's not like him trying to get a foul. Sometimes he slips, sometimes he just, I don't know. Sometimes he falls over because he tries so hard to keep the ball and then just tries to do something while falling. But yeah, it's not ideal, is it?
No, I mean, I made a comment in the group chat that he was playing more of a wing back than he was a winger today. Like, it was insane how far back he was. I mean, when he went off, him and Mudryk had the same amount of touches, which was 18. And I'll get to Mudryk. Yes, Mudryk got a lot more touches in the last 10 minutes of the game than he did the entire game.
Because in the end, Mudryk had 33.
And I specifically made sure to look at that, by the way. Don't you worry. I'll get to it later.
But that makes Pulisic's performance even worse then, because Mudryk certainly did more if he had the same number of touches.
Yeah.
Just wait. I will tell you what Mudryk did wrong later. But we're at Pulisic now. I thought Pulisic was very bad. I thought, he had a couple nice dribbles.
I'm sorry, Clutch. I'm not sure if SofaScore just hates you, but I'll bring it up on screen in a second. I'll just airdrop it to myself. But I've just looked at the average positions of Pulisic, and you will be baffled. But you say your thing, and we'll show it on screen in a second.
But I think he was playing a little bit further back at times to kind of help out, and he wasn't getting as high when he needed to. I mean, he had a couple nice dribbles, but other than that, it's just like you said, it just nothing really worked for him today. He did have the one chance that he almost got a header on goal, so I could give him credit for that, but not much. I'd probably give him a 3 as well.
Fair enough, Aaron. Now, you know what? Before I do that, I will highlight the average position thing from SofaScore. Apparently, Pulisic was the furthest forward alongside Mudryk. So now I'm slightly, because I actually agree with you, maybe not to the same drastic extent as you said at the Clutch, but I agree with you that he was super deep. So I don't really understand how this average position thing can be possible.
How is Zakaria's average position?
Centre back. Yeah, I don't know either.
Fofana.
Honestly, I have no idea. I mean, Chalobah I can see a little bit because obviously he played centre back later on, so I guess that would change his average position, playing into different positions. But yeah, I don't really understand it either. But I mean, people swear by SofaScore, so you know that's what they claim anyway. But Aaron, kind of 3-3 so far. Not much you're going to change. But what did you make of Pulisic?
Pulisic was ass. He was so bad. Like, I get that he had nothing going for him in terms of he had Chalobah behind him. He wasn't offering him anything going forward. But yeah, he weren't great. He was on the floor a lot. I just don't think he really impacted the game at all. The fact that at the point of substitution, supposedly him and Mudryk had the same amount of touches is more to Pulisic's detriment, because if he had those amount of touches and managed to produce literally I can remember one dribble and then a shit cross afterwards, compared to at least Mudryk was able to get on the ball and do a little bit and got an assist as well. Pulisic will probably get like a 2.
Well, here's what I will say to you, Aaron, and this will be in defense. I obviously will pay more attention to Pulisic than I will most other players, obviously. You're going to pay more attention to Mudryk because you want Mudryk to play more, obviously. It's the new signing. And here's what I will say. When you said, well, you're not going to give credit for Gallagher for the goal, but you're going to give credit for the assist, right?
Well, the assist didn't take a deflection, I guess. But
yeah, but
without the deflection, he doesn't get the assist anyway. If it doesn't go in, right?
But it's not necessarily just about the assist, though, is it? It's about, the action that he's done.
But the fact that he picked up the ball deeper on, he actually was driving.
It was a good pass. I'm not going to be too harsh on Mudryk, but we'll go there.
Yeah, I mean, you know what, Aaron? I'll let you go first on Mudryk. Say what you want to say about him and give him your rating.
I don't know whether to... Yeah, you know what? Mudryk gets a 6. I don't want to go any higher because we lost, but I was a lot more impressed today than I have been in every game other than the debut cameo against Liverpool.
Yeah,
I think it was better to see him actually picking up the ball, trying to drive it a little bit. He's still unpolished. He still has a lot of work to do in his game, but just seeing him being able to unleash his speed a bit. I remember there was this one time where the ball, it wasn't a great ball out to him, but he took a heavy touch forward to try and push it past the defender and sprint, and then went the other side of the defender and got the foul early on in the first few minutes. I thought that was quite good. For the first goal, picking up the ball from deep, driving forward a bit, making the space in the middle, and then laying it off to Gallagher. I thought that was quite good. He's obviously got a lot to work on in his game, but I like the fact that he was actually being unleashed in behind a little bit and being able to use his speed to sprint. That was one thing that I really did like to see. So hopefully he can build on that and sort of go from there, really.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, Charles thinks he should get -15. So thanks for that input, mate. Tom, I'm gonna let you go. You said, in your opinion, Gallagher was the best player, but followed by Mudryk. What did you make of him, and what rating would you give him as well?
Yeah, I think I ended up giving. Did I give him a 5.5? I would give Mudryk just half lower than Gallagher, so maybe Gallagher 6, Mudryk 5.5. That sort of way. Okay. Sorry to change it now, but
no, it's all good. I just thought you meant you were going to say 5, and I would have changed it to a 5.5.
No. He started the game really brightly. I thought it was sort of a game sort of set up for Mudryk in the fact that Chelsea didn't have the ball and there was space for Brighton. Their fullbacks were pushing up really high. And that's the sort of game that he thrives on, loves the space. He sort of had the room to dribble into. But in the middle of the sort of, first 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and the sort of last 10 or 15 minutes, he didn't really do anything in the hour in between. Yeah, but I do agree it was probably the most well-rounded performance that we'd seen from him, especially on the ball, since that debut, potentially. The way he just sort of showed that he can use both feet. He dribbled inside, he dribbled outside. He did cause some worries, but again, it's like it's the best of a bad bunch in that front three. It's not perfect to really say that, but this is what we're analysing here. We're analysing 3 players. 1 got an assist, 2 hardly touched the ball, and then Mudryk looked sort of exciting.
But only in comparison to the others.
But only in comparison to the others. You know, that is the sort of state that Chelsea are at. And yeah, you know, off the ball, he's got a lot to work on because he is a long way off it.
I agree.
I don't really know what else to add to them because I've tried to think ever since we signed him that these are just like every appearance, every sort of bit of time that we get with Mudryk is going to be a benefit heading into next season because it's minutes that we don't have to give Mudryk to get him settled. You know, he's joined in January, so he should be more settled coming into next season than if we tried to sign him in the summer and then try and get him sorted. That's a positive. It's been a struggle for him in general. Like he hasn't hit the ground running like people expected, but I think those expectations were unrealistic. This was a better performance, but in a loss, it's not going to get highlighted.
And neither should it. Let's be honest.
Exactly. Like there's no need to gloss this up and act like it was brilliant because it was far from it. But in terms of what we've seen, it was slightly better, which is about as far as you can go with it.
I do agree. Clutch, let me take it to you. How much lower than the guys are you going to go? And you said you're going to tell us what he did wrong. What do you think he did wrong?
I think he was good. He was decent in the first 15 minutes of the game, and then the last 15 minutes of the game. In that mid between, he was shockingly terrible. He kept giving up the ball. He had when Pulisic went off, and I was looking at the stats. He had a 40% pass accuracy rating, by the way, and he just most of the game he was passing it into the opposition or dribbling into him. He was just always doing something like that, and that's just what you get with him. I remember his little cut in. And then his little dart pass that he usually makes didn't work except for one time. And that's
I will say though, that pass has the potential to create a chance. All the other players are constantly passing it backwards. You're never going to create anything that way. So yes, you're going to give the ball away more by trying those, but that's why he got an assist and no one else got anywhere near getting an assist. I agree with you on what you said. But the problem is that no one else does this. No one else tries to pass forward in our whole team.
In a team full of people that are scared. So, whether it's right or wrong doesn't really matter. He is trying to do something a little bit different. I don't think you should gloss that up too much because I do agree.
No,
in the middle hour, he was really bad.
But because of the way Clutch said it, I'm it's not yes, it's bad, and he should certainly complete more of those. I'm in full agreement with that. But I still do think that when you look at pass completion rates, you have to keep in mind of where those passes are attempted to. If you're just passing it to the right back behind you or to the centre mid next to you or to, into Enzo Zacharias or the centre back's case, to the players 5 yards away from you, of course, you're going to have a higher pass completion rate. But you're also going to make it more difficult for us to keep possession because you're putting teammates under pressure and you're never going to help us create anything. Not that Mudryk did that much of it. But, I'd rather a player try. That's me, and I try to be like that as objectively as I can. So as much as when players are bad, but they try something, I usually try to give them the benefit of that doubt. But, Clutch, I do apologize. I cut you off. Finish what you were trying to say.
Hi. Thank you, whoever did that. Here's my thing. I think Mudryk's best moments was when he had a lot of space to run with the ball. And he was the only one who got that space to run. Well, nobody else got that space. So I think that was on Brighton for giving him that space. I don't know why they did that. But at the end of the day, I would give him a 5. Like I said, I'm not going to be too harsh on him. I do think he was decently better than a lot of them. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, yeah, he was good. Because he wasn't. I'm sorry. He wasn't good. He was okay. At best, he was okay.
What rating would you give him, though?
A 5.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Give it a 5. You said 5.5, didn't you, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's a weird one. To mention a few positives, he had 0 out of 3 completed crosses. That was weird. I started the sentence with positives.
One was good, though.
But as I harp on about on this on these streams, whether it was about Reece James on other occasions or Ben Chilwell, the crosses are not like passes where they're always about the ability of the cross itself that decides whether a cross is a completed cross or an incomplete cross. Because I actually thought at least 2 of his 3 crosses were really good, and I was actually surprised by how good he crossed with his weak foot, if I'm honest. That was a serious positive from what I've seen so far of him. I'm still disappointed a little bit by how inconsistent his touch is. It's very different in the way of Timo. Sometimes I think he's so eager to do something after his first touch that he kind of rushes the touch and then it bounces a bit too far. But it's also probably a problem if you're the fastest player by so much compared to everyone. You probably never learn how necessary the perfect touch is. Rafael Leao is exactly like that. I'm not sure if anyone watched the highlights of Milan-Napoli midweek, obviously the same night we lost in Madrid. The goal that Leao scored started by one of the worst touches you will ever see, but his acceleration from having that bad touch, because the bad touch also fooled the opponent, his acceleration was so crazy that he then just ran past the entire Napoli defense and scored. And that's kind of what Mudryk is. But yeah, he got the assist. I liked when he started shooting a couple of times. Now, none of them were good, but compare it to when Havertz shoots, other than the offside goal against Dortmund and the screamer against Salzburg. Other than those two, compare the shots of Mudryk to the shots of Sterling. Even compare the shots of pretty much the entire rest of the team. At least there was some power on it. At least if this goes on target, it's a challenge to save it, not the easiest catch you will ever see. Leao is so clear of Mudryk. Yeah, you wait until Leao plays in the Premier League and then we talk again. And you wait until Leao plays in a team that has won no games. Let me just call it no games. I mean, Frank Lampard is now on 3 wins of his last 17 games as a manager. That's difficult.
Oh my God, he's catching up to Potter. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair to Frank, at least he had a team of the level of Everton. Not always this level of team for a lot of these. By the way, guys, I haven't told you this.
Damari Gray would like to have a word with you.
Hit the like button. Say again, Coach?
Damari Gray would like to have a word with you.
He probably would. But yeah, there was positives. I thought it was better than on other occasions. I still don't understand, and I still don't know if it's a lack of cohesion or if, obviously, on TV you can't always see where the forward is when the midfielder could potentially play an over-the-top ball, because the TV angles don't always show you every player. But I still never, does he not make the runs? Does he want to wait for the run because he knows he's so fast? He'll rather wait for the pass to come and then run after it, to not give a defender an indication to defend the pass. But then the teammates don't see it, so they don't try it. I don't know. But there's certainly a lack of communication or cohesion or chemistry that, when found, can work. Like, we had that one over-the-top ball to Mudryk, and that was the biggest mistake that he made. When that over-the-top ball came and he outpaced the Brighton player, honestly, the guy looked like he was walking. And Mudryk didn't even look like he went full pelt, and he still gave him an easy 20 yards in the space of 40 yards. But then Ziyech was right there in the middle, and all he needed was a low cross right to Ziyech, and he has a tap in. And he didn't do that. He cuts it back. Now, he cut it back to a teammate, and then, unfortunately, I think it was Mount or Gallagher that shot it way over.
Mount.
It was Mount, wasn't it? I still don't understand why he didn't cross that to Ziyech. I just don't get it. So that was
a couple times today.
Really bad moment that he had. But yeah, otherwise I thought he was decent. I thought it was a bright spot. He was the only remote positive of the day was Mudryk. Not that he was great, but he was still, in my opinion, the only remote positive, because Gallagher was a positive from a different point of view. He was a positive in the point of view of working hard, and working hard showing helps compared to not working hard, even if you're equally as bad, if that makes sense. But Mudryk had there was at least sparks. I'm okay, there is something there. There's threat. And it also felt like he was the only one that scared Brighton in it by any stretch. I can't decide between a 5.5 and a 6. So it won't really change. It will remain at a 5.5 anyway, I think. But yeah, it's between those for me. I kind of want to give him a 6, but like I say, I don't think it changes it anyway with 5.5. You know what, actually, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat, I know, judging by a lot of the comments in the chat, I do think you guys are going to go for the lower one anyway. But I will actually give you guys the option to pick between a 5.5 and a 6 to see what we end up going for on screen. So please place your vote in the poll in the chat. As many of you as possible, please do, to get, a bit more of a democratic rating in the end. And then let's finish it off in terms of the starters with Raheem Sterling. Let me get some stats up, because Is it true that he had 15 touches? Yeah, 15 touches, 12 passes, 10 of which completed. 0 out of 3 ground duels. No attempted dribbles. Oh, 1 attempted dribble, sorry, but none successful. Did he have a shot? Nope, no shots. I almost am tempted to give him a ghost.
Can we give him the peach emoji?
Sorry?
Can we give him the peach emoji?
You know what? All his comments in the last game, in the last Chelsea video where he said it's the big bum in it, why he's compared to Hazard. Yeah, that's about the only similarity you have, because everything else you're just so infinitely worse at. It's actually embarrassing. But I do still feel bad for him because he wouldn't have had to play if Kai was fit. I think he would have started. Do I think it's better to play Raheem Sterling, who's not even fully fit anyway? I mean, he shouldn't have started the game against Wolves. Played against Madrid, it was awful. And then how he started these 3 games in a row is genuinely beyond me. Because my point is, I agree with you, Klaus. We're like, well, if you say Pulisic shouldn't start, then neither should Aubameyang. It's true, but Pulisic did, right? I think I would have rather... I don't like Aubameyang. I don't really rate Aubameyang. He also hasn't played in ages, so he would have struggled regardless of playing or not. But I don't understand how, if we keep punting the ball, and we've done it 3 games in a row now under Lampard, so no one can tell me that it's not even remotely instructions, why would you not play a striker? Not that Aubameyang is any good in the end, winning duels anyway, but he's going to be better at it than Sterling. So I don't understand. Like, yeah, tough job, impossible task. That's why I'm not against giving him an emoji, because any rating would feel harsh. A high rating would feel harsh because you're like, well, you didn't do anything. A low rating feels harsh. We're like, well, we never gave you the ball, so what can you do? But I just think it was a real stinker from Frank to start him there, if I'm being perfectly honest. I just put it as simple as that. Like, I'd rather have Gallagher as the striker than Sterling, genuinely. Like, what is the point in Sterling being your striker? It's just utterly... If you play the way we do, like if you play like a Man City do, or like we did at times like under Tuchel, you can play someone like that as a false 9 when you need to due to injuries, rotation, blah, blah, blah. I get it, but not if you play like we do right now, where you're just essentially trying to hold on for dear life, can't get the ball to the forwards, and you don't even understand how counter-attack works. That's a frustrating thing. We were dominated, destroyed, ridiculed, ruined, embarrassed by Brighton today, but we tried to play, but we failed so hard at it that our players and Lampard didn't never change it from the side in terms of tell them, okay, we're getting dominated, try to counter. Try to counter. Just tell Mudryk, Sterling, even Pulisic, tell them to make runs and tell Enzo to just try to find them as best as he can. They're not going to work, but if you try it 15 times, 2 or 3 might come off. But the way we did, nothing was ever going to come off. Like, the only time we had moments was when Mudryk got the ball on the side, cut in the middle, ran through the midfield, and then did something, whether shooting or laying it off. No, it didn't always work, but that was the only creative, dangerous moments we had. And one Reece James cross from the right-hand side. It was the only dangerous moments we had. And that ended up in Mudryk's shot as well, by the way, in Sanchez saving that. So every dangerous moment had Mudryk in it. And that was just him running. It was never tactical. It was never play. It was never like, we did something good as a team here. It was like, just hope someone does something. And unfortunately, very few players did anything. Essentially, that's it. I've rambled on here for a while. Like I say, it almost feels harsh to give him a rating, so I'm okay with the emoji. Aaron, you okay with the emoji as well? But what would you say about it? And like, do you feel the same? Where you're like, you want to give him a really low rating, but that feels harsh. You want to feel and if you don't give him a low rating, that feels ridiculous as well.
I feel sorry for him because it's not his position, and he was pretty much set up to fail, if I'm being honest. Like, with the way that he's being played, you're punting the ball long, and you've got no one to win an aerial duel. You're relying on Sterling, Mudryk, and Pulisic, someone in there to win the aerial duel. So it's really stupid. He should never have played as a striker. You've got a striker on the bench. As much as you like him or don't like him, whatever the case, you have a striker on the bench. You don't need to play a winger up front then. It's pointless. He should be playing out wide. That's his position. He shouldn't be going through the middle. I do feel bad for him, but at the same time, he done nothing. So you can give him a 1 or just for feeling sorry for him, or you can give him an emoji, whatever you want. But yeah, he was pretty non-existent.
Yeah, fair enough. Tom, I'll let you go first. I mean, you can agree with the emoji if you want. If you want to give him a rating, please do. What did you think of Sterling?
No, I think it was probably more emoji than rating. I mean, you never can expect the Man City levels of output at Chelsea this season, simply because he's not going to be getting the amount of back post tap-ins at Chelsea that he did at Manchester City. But only Chelsea would buy Sterling and spend as much time playing him as a false nine, playing him as a wing back, playing him in all sorts of different positions. Like, if there was ever a player that had a defined role in a team for a number of years, it was Raheem Sterling. And Chelsea have tried it. I can understand why Lampard likes him. He's a very Lampard sort of player. But he's so lost up front. And I don't know who the other person is. Like, as you say, like you've mentioned Gallagher. Is it worth putting Mount in there just to play as a false nine and have literally no striker, and just have Mount and Gallagher just to press maybe a bit more cohesively? I'm not really 100% sure what the answer is. I mean, Armando Broja would have been nice to have potentially at this stage of the season. Just a physical presence.
Would have been really nice in a game like that.
Made to hold up the ball and to run in behind. I mean, midweek, Sterling, his movement was dreadful. It was dreadful. Nobody was running in behind. Nobody was doing anything. And the same was sort of there today. I mean, every time Chelsea did go long, they were just hitting the centre backs. You know, you've got Lewis Duncan, Adam Webster, and then Veltman. Like, you've got three massive centre backs here against two false nines, not even really like forwards, two players playing in that position, and nothing going in behind them, nothing to run onto. It was just never really going to work. I feel bad for Sterling again, because again, he's somebody that needs to be part of a cohesive unit to sort of work, and that is just not what Chelsea are at the moment. Yeah, I think probably if Havertz was fit, Havertz would have played, because he is at least a central player that can sort of compete for headers and sort of hold up the ball a little bit more than Sterling can.
And also has this understanding of what movement is required in that position. And I don't think Sterling has that in a team like we are at the moment. But also, I agree with Charles, as much as, I had to ridicule him a bit earlier for a comment. I still stand by that. I said it in the summer. We should have gone for Gabriel Jesus, not Sterling. Is Sterling really better than Pulisic? No, to me. No, he isn't. I genuinely believe that. What is he really better at? Maybe he has a bit more of a goal instinct, but that will never show until we play like a team like Man City anyway. So until that point, what difference does it make? He's so monotone. Like, I'm not sure if any of you guys watched that video with him and Conor Gallagher on the Chelsea channel, but like my left toe has more charisma than Raheem Sterling. Like, do you know what I mean? Literally, like, get a bit, like, come on. How he's supposed to be a leader? He came to be the main man, and my guy can't even fucking open his mouth and hit 10 decibels in volume. Like, it's just if Raheem Sterling is the one that has to lead your attack and be the experienced player, and the one you rely on, you're fucked from the get-go, in my opinion. It's just as simple as that for me. Clutch, finish it off for Raheem Sterling. What do you think? Obviously, we're giving him the emoji anyway, but what would you, say about him anyway?
He was just unfortunately put in the awful position of having to be a 5'7" striker, and he's just not that. He's just not that. I think Chelsea owe you an apology when you were talking about going for Gabriel Jesus rather than Sterling in the summer, because you see the difference between us and Arsenal. Arsenal have literally had their whole attack transformed because of Gabriel Jesus, and we have not. So the emoji is about as best as I can get. I like that he tried to fight with Caicedo, though. That was pretty cool. I almost saw a fight. That was cool.
Yeah. How about you fight while the ball is in play and not just when it's not? I would like that. Reece James is another one of those. He loves a fight when the ball's out of play. I'm like, bro, how about you start fighting when he's on the pitch? But anyway, Tom, I know you need to head off. So one last thing I'd ask for you, because none of these, we'll give them ratings because they played quite a long time. But none of them really did anything drastic. So just quickly, what rating would you give for Lampard today? I know you've not been on any of these streams before, so it's now a bit harsh to throw you under the bus with a manager rating because that's not something people are maybe used to doing. But what would you give him in terms of team selection, subs? How much of what's happening today is his fault? How much isn't? What would you say?
It's a tough one. I think Lampard got things wrong, but I can understand why he did a lot of them. I mean, this game is ultimately quite meaningless. If Chelsea come back, Kante, James and Thiago Silva all look brilliant against Real Madrid. La-di-da, brilliant. That's all that really matters, isn't it? And we've seen Lampard having the same issues that Graham Potter had with this Chelsea team to an extent. Different sorts of issues, but following a similar trend. So, I don't know. Lampard didn't really do loads right. I mean, in the end of it, Chelsea set up and tactically looked really, really bad. They looked individually really, really bad. And they rode their luck massively. I guess the substitutions sort of helped the game, but with the game state, Chelsea were, chasing the game as they had to.
Did you make the subs at 2-1 or at 1-1?
I think they made a few at 1-1, and James was obviously on by 1-1.
Yeah, so we made the quadruple sub at 1-1 actually, and then conceded to 2-1.
We'd made the changes and then sort of had the better of the game after that, sort of, but by that point, you're 2-1 down.
At that point, Brighton are in the lead and are defending that lead to some extent too, right? Not chasing another goal.
I feel I don't really want to give Lampard a rating because it would be low because not much has really worked out for him. But it's not really his fault. He's come into this thing and there are so many other issues wider than Frank Lampard right now.
The thing that's bad is everyone. I mean, I'm not sure how much that applies to you as well, Tom. But people were really badly on the case of Potter on every occasion. And we're now 3 games in, and every 3 games of these were arguably worse than maybe any game under Potter. Because we had bad halves under Potter. Southampton, the first half, Spurs, obviously Brighton away is a big standout one. But I can't remember any full 90 minutes being as bad as the last 3 games. And that is poor still. I know it's tough for him, but it's still you can't have made it worse than that.
I can understand why the change was made because the results had got so bad. Stamford Bridge had turned, but ultimately, it was a decision made for timekeeping more than anything else, wasn't it? Like Potter, even if he got to the end of the game, I said Potter could win the rest of the games and win the Champions League, and probably it would still be the right decision to move him on in the summer anyway. What's happened under Lampard is just further proof that the problems weren't just the manager, but I feel like we sort of should have known that anyway. Like people should have known that anyway. It's all a mess, frankly, and the new manager is going to have a hell of a lot to sort out. But Lampard criticising, the one big thing I thought perhaps Lampard would do, which he hasn't, is basically cut the shit and stop playing players that don't really have a future at Chelsea and shouldn't really be playing for Chelsea in the meantime. And that hasn't particularly happened.
No, it hasn't. All right, Tom. Well, if you don't want to give Frank a rating, that's okay. We'll make sure we do that for you. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on for the first time. Hopefully we'll have you on again in the future. Everybody make sure you follow Tom on his Twitter. Link is down in the description and you can see it on the screen as well. But yeah, Tom, thank you for coming on and we'll see you soon.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. And sorry it had to be for a game like that. It was pretty grim.
I'm not sure we get many different ones this season, so it is what it is.
Enjoy. Have a good weekend, guys.
Cheers, guys. All right. Let's do these subs first before we finish off the Lampard thing. Obviously, other than Mount, they all came on in the 57th minute. So they had over half an hour. And my God, what a bad. Sterling, Felix, we'll make it quick. I'm sure both of you are going to agree. I haven't looked at stats, but I didn't even see him. Other than when he lost the ball, which cost us the 2-1. Well, first he lost the ball, then Sterling had then James had a poor touch. Other than that, I didn't see him do it. Nothing. How many passes did he have? 5. Great. How many touches did he have? 10. I mean, compared to Pulisic, that's not even bad. So maybe a ghost emoji is harsh. Maybe I need to change that. Aaron, what would you give Felix? Would you give him a ghost emoji? But if you have, well, to be honest, it's half an hour. It's half of what Pulisic had on the pitch, really. And he had half of the touches. So, not too much different.
I've got literally nothing to say about him. I didn't notice him at all. He done pretty much nothing.
There you go. So I take that as agreement with the ghost clutch. You have anything to say that doesn't lead me to a ghost?
Nope. Thought he had one nice dribble, and that's about it.
Yeah, exactly that. Ziyech, honestly, I want to give him an NA. I didn't see nothing. Apparently, he had 21 touches, which is more than Pulisic, which is crazy. 12 attempted passes, 9 of which completed, which isn't exactly brilliant. Yeah, apparently a 0.08 XA. So I'm not sure what maybe potential assist he could have had or whatever. He created one chance.
It was the Mudryk shot on target, where he shot it right at Sanchez. Pretty sure he crossed that.
I thought that was Reese's cross, but I could be wrong. It doesn't really matter, does it? Do we give Ziyech a rating? Do we say NA? Any emojis that anyone got in mind that we could use for this one?
Is there a shisha emoji?
I don't think so, but
I could have used that.
No, there is not. Shall we give him a smoke emoji?
Yeah, he
looked like he was fast, and he wasn't, was he? So
he runs like he's a heavy smoker.
Oh my! You know what? Let's give him a shrug. Is that fair?
Yeah.
See, I think a shrug is pretty good. Maybe we should do that in the future always. Subs get emojis. Kovacic gets a... How about Kovacic gets a question mark? Because I still don't understand why he's so bad at the moment.
Can you do like a rocket ship? Because he never hits the ball on target?
I mean...
No,
yeah,
actually, no, what do I
feel
want?
like that is a more positively inclined emoji if we give him that, and people might not...
Hold on, I'm going to search my emojis. Go on.
You search your emojis. I'm going to give him a question mark in the meantime. Would you be okay with a question mark, Aaron, or any different shouts?
Whatever makes you happy, bro. Whatever makes you happy.
All right, I'll go with a question mark. I mean, Clutch, if you have a different idea, tell me. We can do that in a second as well. And ladies and gentlemen, still, by the way, place your vote in the poll for Mudryk's rating. We're currently at 55% for the 6, 45% for the 5.5. So please place your vote in the poll, and we'll move on with that shortly. Who am I missing still? Reece James.
Shit.
Honestly, I'm tempted to give him a 0.
He might actually deserve a 0.
I thought they were getting emojis.
Yeah, I thought that too. I mean, he was better than the others. 18 out of 20 completed passes. I still think it was his cross that Mudryk won, but I guess I could be wrong. So, I mean, the ground duels 1 out of 4. The fact that he couldn't control the ball just before we conceded. The fact that he got like that whole misunderstanding between him and Chalobah when he had just had the ball, thought Chalobah would get it, then lost the ball, and Mitoma just ran past both of them. Just embarrassing. Yeah, let's stick to the emojis, I guess. I mean, Aaron, you really want the emojis, so any emoji in mind?
Well, at this point, I don't even care, bro. Give him a shit emoji, whatever you want, man.
Nah, shit is too harsh. Shit is too harsh for this one. Not because he wasn't shit, but because, it's a sub to get a shit emoji.
Just let Clutch go through his emojis and find one.
All right, Clutch. Anyone's in mind for Kovacic or James?
Emojis are way too positive, bro. I don't understand it. Why are they all so positive?
I think for Reece James, you can give him the crying face because I don't know why he's so shit now.
Yeah, I'd do that one for Reece James.
All right. Does also feel a bit harsh, but also slightly entertaining. So, I'll back it. Reece, shall we give him the injured one? No, that's too nice again.
And Kovacic, you can give the angry face.
Thinking of giving him this one, but I don't really know what it says, but I'm like, it kind of implies why you're so bad.
Yeah, and then give Kovacic the angry face.
The angry face. All right, we'll give him the angry face.
Yeah.
Which of the 2 angry faces do we want? No, let's not use swearing, because otherwise YouTube might think we've been swearing and we haven't. And Mount, honestly, I have to give him an A. Other than that shot over the goal, I don't.
You can give him the rocket ship one because his shot went to Mars.
I mean, it is true. I just feel like people will think that rocket is a good thing.
Oh, don't Johnny Minerals might actually love you.
That's what I'm saying. Can't be risking that, can we?
Oh Lord, no.
All right. Frank Lampard, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat, if you have much different,
how about
Reece James, give him a burger. It's outrageous.
Why
You
don't
can't do that.
Why don't the chat drop in emojis for the players? Write the player's name and then put the emoji next to it.
Give Kova an SOS emoji.
And that's, yeah, to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, put a few emojis to the subs, put them in the chat, and if there's one that stands out that I really like, then give him the pill. But why the pill? What does that mean? But yeah, for YouTube lives, once you go past 2 hours, you can use explicit language. That is true, but we are currently 5 seconds away from 2 hours. So, you know.
And now we're at 2 hours.
Now we've had 2 hours, so now let's just swear the living shit out of us. You know what I mean?
I was going to, as soon as it hit 2 hours, I was going to just start.
I was just going to start saying as many swear words.
I was like, no.
Bleep, bleep, bleep. You know what I mean? Let's get to Frank. Tom likes him too much to give a rating. Let's be objective here. How low do you go, Clutch? Or do you want to give him an emoji as well? I think we'd be letting Frank off a bit too much if we give him an emoji. So I almost want to give him a rating.
Nah.
If I would give him any emoji, it'd be because I like Frank. I shouldn't say that. I was gonna like the hand waving one for like goodbye, but like I like Frank. So
yeah. You're nice. I would have given him the coffin one because he's a dead man walking right now.
But if we did rating, Clutch, what would you say?
Probably a 0. No, I can't. That's too harsh. Maybe a 3.
That's too harsh. Are you mental?
I like Frank. I don't think Frank's a good manager, but I like Frank.
Yeah, but whether you like him or not, you have to be objective.
I know. It's so hard, though. It's really, really hard.
Well, then that's...
I'll give him a 0. I'll give him a 0. I don't want Aaron to yell at me again.
There we go.
Are you gonna agree with Clutch then, Aaron? Now that you forced him into the 0?
I would have gone even lower than 0 if I could.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah, that's what
0. But why would you have gone that low? Like, what were all the things that you thought you did wrong to justify that?
The team selection was shit. Everyone just looks void of any confidence. No one looks like they know what they're doing. That's probably the worst performance of the season. It's just progressively getting worse and worse. Yeah, there's zero positive to take out of anything.
Yeah. See, I was going to give him a 1. And, you know, on the basis of what? Because he
Being
rested some players, which was fairly intelligent. You know, it took us long enough, but after 4 starts and 90 minutes for Reece James, when he's not fit, he finally got a rest.
But we did rest Enzo.
So that, because we're so far away from any sort of logical decisions, you get a point for just doing that. So let's get this off the screen. Although, let's finish the Mudryk one. It's very close, but 52% voted for a 6. 48% voted for a 5.5, so a 6 he shall get. Leaves him the highest outfield player on the pitch. But let me quickly get to a couple of quotes from Frank Lampard. I hope Pice did actually include all the important ones in this one, but all the basic parts of football, to fight, to run, we were short on. For me, it's all about the basics. Our fans will be watching a team on Wednesday that will be giving everything. Conor Gallagher was another one who gave every drop individually. It's the basics of football. Brighton are a really good team, but we were short in tackles, fights, and yards. If it isn't right, you don't win. I didn't think it could get worse than Potter, and it has. That's Pi saying this. There's a reason why Kepa Arrizabalaga was the one trying to give tactics to Chalobah and Zakaria. And there was another quote where Frank said Kepa was brilliant, which, you know, I think maybe brilliant is maybe slightly over-exaggerating it, but certainly made 2 super strong saves. But the fact that he said basically the same things 3 games in a row now about the basics, fight, run, aggression, this kind of stuff, 3 games in a row, when are you starting to question yourself, Frank? Now, Wednesday I understood, I know Clutch is still in disagreement of that, but Wednesday I understood the negative approach in terms of just try to take a result that's at least remotely possible to the bridge. It didn't really work out with the second goal because our team doesn't know to be awake in a Champions League quarterfinal when the opponent has a corner, so that's smart. But when you have 3 games in a row, you say the same thing as a new caretaker manager. My God, we are woeful.
Are we skating over the fact that he's basically said the boys gave everything twice?
Did he? No, he didn't.
Our fans will be watching a team on Wednesday that will be giving everything Conor Gallagher was another one who gave every drop individually. He's basically saying Conor Gallagher gave everything, and on Tuesday they're going to give everything.
I mean, that's true. Conor Gallagher
Gallagher
did
did give everything, though.
Yeah, but then he's saying the team.
In fact, he's even saying we were short on all the basics of everything
and he's
else.
saying we
Meaning
didn't give
they did
everything
not
today,
give
but we will
everything.
against
Yeah,
Madrid.
but then look at that bit where it says all fans will be watching a team on Wednesday that will be giving everything. Firstly, we're not playing on Wednesday.
That's him
making.
that's him saying, "I will make sure on Tuesday we will give everything because today we didn't." That's what I think he's saying.
Oh,
I think there needs to be some trackers on some players because they might go missing.
Yeah, I still think we should have John Terry. I mean, now I said Leicester, but I still think we should have John Terry in the tunnel waiting for them to come off the pitch at halftime and full time and slap each and every one of them around the face until they're bloody. Do you know what I mean? Do a Mane to Sane, but just make sure whoever's doing it is allowed.
Let's just give a quick PSA. We don't actually condone violence on this channel, people. We don't condone it at all.
Speak for yourself. No, I'm kidding.
Just so YouTube
a little
don't
slap
think
to a
you're,
player that play badly. I'm not against.
There's a little slap, and then there's slapping them in the face until they're bloody, like you said.
Okay. All right. Not until they're bloody dead. But to be fair, if they just keep doing it, after too many slaps, they will be bloody. I mean, it's up to them to make sure the slaps don't end up in blood. But yeah, it's misery. It's utter misery. We go into Tuesday. We know we will lose. We know we won't stand a chance. We know it will look bad. We know it will be horrible. I don't know if we'll get another point this season. I mean, very few teams will be as good against us as Brighton. I generally don't think Madrid will be as good as Brighton, partly because they don't need to, because they're 2-0 up. But yeah, the problem is we can't even sack Frank. That's the problem. Like, honestly, I said it as a joke on last weekend. We played Wolves in the first half. I'm like, can we sack Frank at halftime? Because I want to. Like, it was so much better under Potter, and it was still bad. That's how bad it's got, that it was a lot better under Potter, and we know how bad it was then. Yeah, I don't even know what to say anymore. We can just hope and pray, get to the next one. Problem is, after Tuesday, we don't even play next weekend, because we would have played Man United, but they play FA Cup, so that's cancelled. Then we play midweek against Brentford, and then we were supposed to play that weekend against Arsenal, but no, they moved it from a Saturday to a Tuesday, which, yeah, brilliant idea. Why don't you move a game from a Saturday to a Tuesday? A great shout. Instead of moving it to the weekend where we play, where we should have played Man United, because Arsenal isn't in the FA Cup anymore either, are they?
Nope.
Or are they?
No, they're not.
Arsenal, are they still in the FA Cup?
No.
I don't think so either. So why not just play them on that weekend instead of playing them on a Tuesday? I just don't understand. But anyways, doesn't matter. Let's just.
Brentford's going to give Wolves a bigger fight than we will, according to the manager.
I mean, they beat them 2-0. They beat us 1-0. So, but yeah, there's that. Fans being annoyed at Todd Bowley. You can see them there, pointing down at him. Not happy. Bowley seemingly not happy with the response either. What can I do? Well, mate, not sack a manager in September. After 3 days earlier, you signed them 2 players, that one of which in particular, none of the following managers cared about, or the fans all the same. Well, actually, that's not true. Some fans love Aubameyang for some odd reason.
Nice.
Yeah, you said it.
Let's not call people out now.
Lewis, do you know what I mean?
Said what I said.
I thought you hate Arsenal, but now he constantly sucks off a guy that has an Arsenal tattoo. Make it make sense. It's one of those. But also, hire another manager, hire an entire backroom staff after you hire the manager. We still don't know who advised Bowley and Lequali to get Potter. I still would love to know who that decision was, because I still don't think he's the worst manager. But I'm like, maybe he should have just brought in Frank. I guess he had a job at the time, but we should have brought a caretaker manager in after Tuchel, and then a serious one after that, because whoever was the one after Tuchel was always going to just, die a miserable death of a manager anyway. And now you sack Potter. Firstly, too late in a way. Secondly, you then didn't replace him anyway. You give us Lampard, makes everything worse. It's just misery. I can't be bothered anymore. That's why I'm still clinging on to this minor positive stat I thought Mudryk showed today, because I have to cling on to something, man. And no one else showed me any positives other than Gallagher working hard, but that's not something new, so that's not really a positive in a way. Maybe James Corden did. Wouldn't be surprised. My God. Ladies and gentlemen, please do Subscribe if you haven't already. That would be wonderful. Smash the like button. That would be great. Please follow Clutch, Aaron, and Tom down, on Twitter. Their links are down in the description. Yeah, we lose again. We scored a goal, though, but we're still not on 40 points. Let's see if we ever get there. Yeah.
First time in a month. Let's go.
Come on. It's our first goal since international break. We were the only team, I'm not sure in Europe, but in England that hadn't scored until today since the international break. You know how bad that is? Wow. Wow. But yeah.
Do we actually think that we're going to reach 40 points? Like seriously speaking now?
Let me open the matches.
Where do you see the point
we after Madrid, we play Brentford. No. Play Arsenal. No. Bournemouth away. No. Forest at home. Yeah, we'll get at least 1 point against Forest at home.
So we got to wait another 4 games to get to 40 points.
Yes, maybe we'll get to 42 that day. You never know.
Oh Lord.
Then we
That'd be
lose
a
to
birthday
City,
present.
obviously. Then Newcastle at home, maximum a point, probably not even that, and that's the last game of the season. So fantastic. Hey, maybe we'll win against Wrexham in pre-season. Maybe not.
Probably not.
Probably not. You know, especially if Ben Foster signs on, he's better than Kepa. No, I'm joking.
Mate, Paul Mullin up front for Wrexham is better than any striker we have.
Mate, Paul Mullin is about 3 times the player David Dutcher for Farm and never will be. Let's be honest. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. After Chelsea, upwards and onwards. It's ended on a harsh one, eh? But yeah, we'll see you next time. My God, I don't even want to anymore.